What's up, everybody, and welcome to my first episode of my brand new series called Behind the Curtain. It's a series I decided to start to try and get a bit more information out there about some of the players in the South African scene, get a bit more information on their backstories, what their careers have been like, how their journey has been to progress to this point, and just get some really cool information that we can, get to know these players a little bit better and see more behind than what we just see in the service. So, to kick off this new series, I've managed to get one of the most illustrious and decorated players in South African Counter-Strike. His name's Elusive, and we have got one heck of a conversation lined up for today. So Ron, thank you so much for taking your time to join me. We had a few hiccups trying to get this going, of course, mostly from my side, but here we are, and we're ready to kick things off.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for having me, man. I'm keen to have the conversation and get some of the stories out there.
Yeah. Have you ever done something like this before, where you've spoken to somebody and sort of like told your story of Ruan, of Elusive, and how you got to this point?
I think in the past, obviously, like interviews would have generalized questions. How did you get into gaming and stuff like that. But never in this type of format where it's more like the conversation and just breaking things down. And, just chatting, yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna go in like the chronological order of Elusive's career here. You know, starting with his first teams and then working his way through the years to this point now. But Ron, before we get into the conversation, there's one thing I want to ask you here, just to kick things off with an icebreaker. So, you and I have actually played against each other in 2 officials to date. Now, whether you're aware of that or not, okay? What's that?
I said, don't put me on the spot.
No. So we played against two officials, both of them international competitions. Now, we won't talk about the first one. I was a coach, by the way, so I wasn't actually playing, but I was a part of the official game, and or as an analyst, regardless. But won't talk about the first one. Like I said, that was the WESG qualifier where Bravado, you guys hammered. You know, I was working with Energy at the time. It was like a very clean 2-0. You just come back from America on your way to might have been DreamHack Open Winter or DreamHack Mumbai. Actually, I think it was the one that you were on your way to. You came to South Africa to play in the WESG qualifier, and you hammered Energy. And then we played against each other in Mumbai, actually, which was a really cool, like, little crossover. You know, 2 South African teams in India, Mumbai, playing against each other. So that was really cool. And we played against each other on Inferno in a best of 1. Now, you guys lost to that one Indian team. Like, I can't remember their name right now. It was actually a bit of an upset. I think in your best of 1, you lost them. And we also... or did we play against each other in the opening game and then you lost to that other team afterwards? I can't remember exactly what it was, but we played in a BO1 and we were on Inferno, and it was actually like really close at one stage, and I was getting so damn hyped. The crowd was going crazy in our favor as well because we were like the underdogs, and I just remember looking across to you and you guys looked like you were sweating a little bit there for the first time. Do you remember that game?
Yeah, I have a good recollection of that game. I wasn't too happy about the fact that we ended up playing Inferno because, you know, you obviously get your stock standard maps where everyone kind of knows what to do, and even if one team's maybe like 10 or 20% better than the other one, like that gap is kind of bridged or narrow when you playing a map like Inferno or something like that. So I don't know, if I feel like we ended up playing you guys on Inferno, and yeah, I think it was like 16-11 or
16-12, yeah. But it was like 12, you guys were ahead like 12-10 at one stage, or might have even been like 11-10, like it got really close. And then there was one breakaway round where you actually were the sneaky bastard who came in the back lines. I think you came through mid, through arch, through CT, and you backstabbed on your T. You backstabbed the CT players on B, and I think that was the round that actually broke us. You even had like a Mac 10 or something like that, if I remember correctly.
I can actually still remember that round to today. Because I was hiding in brackets in middle on Inferno, getting ready to flank N2, and my team was reaching B. And Trevor was coming to clear N2, and he didn't clear all the way through brackets because I was obviously hiding up brackets. And then when he ran away, it was kind of hard to hear with like the sound on that stage with, you know, those weird noise cancelling headphones and your in-ears and the amount of noise.
The speaker's right next to you, behind you.
Exactly. So I heard faint footsteps of him running away, and I was like, if I can barely hear him, he can't hear me, and I just ran.
Okay.
And fortunately, I got behind him after I killed him. I think Dom was ready backstage, but he didn't kill me. If he killed me, I think it would have went differently. But I ended up back 3 kills, broke a guy's economy, and then I think we took it from there. But it was was a rough game.
Yeah, that was a good memory, man. Like, I've never been so vested in a Counter-Strike game before. Like, the whole crowd was going crazy. I was going crazy, just like getting them all super animated, lifting them up, cheering. I remember TC looking across at me and he's like, why the fuck is this crowd going so crazy? And he just saw me going buck as well. So, no, that was a great experience. I love that.
You barely had a voice after
Yeah.
that game.
Do you remember that DJ set as well? Before the finals, they had that, like, insane DJ set.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It went on for like 45 minutes or something. It was just like so loud and there was smoke everywhere.
It was quite an opening event. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now that we got that out the way, let's draw things back a little bit now and go back all the way to the beginning. So, Mr. Ruan now, he's a young teenager, you know, just doing his thing, going through school, and he gets introduced to Counter-Strike. How did you get into the game in the first place?
Sure. Okay. So my brother, technically half brother, but for those who don't know, his nickname is Spoof. He used to be called Statics back in the day. He played like Counter-Strike when it came out. You know, he's quite a bit older than me, so he played like 1.5, and he introduced me to 1.5. I would always, when I was like 11, 12 years old, when I would visit, I would just want to play on his computer and go into Counter-Strike and just, you know, jam.
Okay.
Because I didn't have a computer at home, and when we did have one, it wasn't capable of running CS.
Okay.
So yeah, he was just kind of, you know, playing Counter-Strike, introducing me to the game up to the point where I bought my own computer so that I could start playing, and he kind of, you know, showed me how to load in bots and, you know, practice here, do this, you know.
Okay.
And then after a while, he saw I was kind of getting into it. Then he started showing me, you know, old school videos of, firstly, the first thing he showed me was a CPL final tournament between like NIP and Four Kings. It was like or Intel Extreme Master. I can't remember what.
Is this like 2006 or something like that? Is this like
way yeah, like long ago. I was like 12 years old.
Okay.
And I saw that and I was like, this is the coolest shit ever. Like I wanna jam at this level. I wanna play with these guys. Then he went a bit further and showed me, you know, what we have locally, and he showed me a video of the Evolve guys. So I mean, you're talking about Deathspain, Style, Halal, and those guys.
Literally legends.
Yes, back in the day, competing overseas, like you say, pioneering. And I was just like, you know, these are the guys that I wanna play against locally, you know. And then my brother saw that I'm taking it a bit more seriously, so, you know, he obviously helped me a bit with that regard, and then eventually introduced me to online, jamming CS online, because I was literally just jamming bots for like a year, getting to know the official maps and stuff, and
mechanics and the rest.
Yeah. Then eventually he exposed to online. He didn't want me to jam in a team with him because obviously I was a bit too new back then.
Okay.
Even though we would like do 1v1 aim battles, and I would start coming out on top, you know, because a bit more mechanics than anything else.
Yeah.
That's literally all I'm practicing, you know, so it makes sense. And then eventually, he I started joining teams, and he just kind of explained to me, you join a team, random people, you're not going to know them, you get to know them, you play, you see, okay, you kind of standing out in this team, or if there's someone good in the team, watch them, learn from them, see what you can get from them, you know. And then eventually the natural order of things is you join a team, you show that you potentially the best player in that team, and then there's a better team that comes and picks you up, and then you kind of just progress over time, and you join different teams. So that's pretty much how I started, and then eventually it got to a point where I think I was about 16, 17, and then I started jamming with XTC, which was myself, my brother, Zero Chance James. Dylan was in there, Unreal, back from the 1.6 days. And then, geez, I'm forgetting this fifth. That person's going to hate me. I can't remember who the
That's
fifth
fun.
is.
We'll add it in the comment section.
It was Dark Mode, Tyrant from PE. Like, he didn't play CSGO, so the majority of people won't know him. But yeah, we played XTC for quite a while. That's when I started taking it a bit more seriously. Never really played for like a top team in 1.6, which is something I'm kind of disappointed about. But ultimately, like, I was surrounded by a group of really cool individuals in XTC, and then yeah, that's pretty much where it started.
Yeah.
That's when Go came out, and obviously went from there.
Just to give some timelines here, you were 16, 17 then. How old are you now? Just so everybody watching.
27,
27.
28.
Okay, so we're talking like 10 years ago now. This was sort of
Yeah.
how you mingled and got into the competitive scene. So you would say your brothers actually was one of the biggest catalysts, if not the biggest catalyst for you to have gotten to where you are today. And why do all, successful stories start with my older brother used to play the game and that's how I got into it. Just trying to fight for time on the computer. But here you are today. I mean, played a really big role, right?
Yeah, no, I think I don't know if I would have necessarily ended up playing CS if it wasn't for him showing me the game. I
Yeah.
mean, back then I was playing like Age of Empire demos and shit. Like we had these small demo CDs.
Yeah, I
where
remember
there's,
them.
like, games on, and you just install everything, and you don't know anything about computers. So after you're done, you just delete the icon and you think it's gone, and then you install new shit. So he eventually showed me CS, and that's kind of where
Okay.
I got in, and that was also how we kind of bonded and built our relationship from.
That's awesome, man. Okay, cool. So, I mean, of course, we'll talk a bit more about it, but then you and your brother got to end up playing in a team together eventually and whatnot. But we're working through the order here. So now you got, Elusive, who's played a little bit of competitive CS, nothing too serious. You say that XTC team, that was in 1.6, obviously, and then CSGO comes about. Were you immediately, was that like straight away something that you were keen on getting involved in and trying to be competitive in, or were you sort of on the same train as like, nah, CSGO, it's going to be a shitty game as well, I'm probably going to stick to 1.6 and carry on playing over there? What was your narrative?
So actually a bit of both. So what happened initially, I mean, okay, so while 1.6 was out, obviously Source was out as well. I dabbled a bit in Source, but
Okay.
I would join Freefall and just, kind of mechanically you can just rake people,
Yeah.
but never competitively. So the scene was kind of divided for a long time. Some people play 1.6, some people play Source, and it was like a really annoying thing.
Yeah.
That, you got half tournaments everywhere. You got half a
Especially in a
tournament.
scene like South Africa where you can barely sustain one game, now you're trying to have two.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And our sponsorships is split between all of that. It was a mission. So when CS:GO came out, I was obviously happy that everyone's going to move on to CS:GO. There was a lot of like what's the word, like people weren't really that keen on it, especially from the 1.6 community.
Yeah, I remember the yeah.
And I know the Source community was more open to it. Like 1.6 guys, kind of like 1.6 till we die.
Yeah, the purists, exactly.
Yeah. And yeah, then I remember Dark Mode, guy that I was obviously in XCC with, and that was in school with me at that stage. He was just like, no, he's not gonna play the game. So I was like, I'm just gonna give it a shot. Like I'm not playing with anyone that I know really. So
Yeah.
when it came out, it was super buggy. The game looked completely different to how it looked today. Or how it looks today. But yeah, I just kind of played for about a month or so. I can't remember if I was in like a particularly good team. There were no tournaments.
Yeah.
Everyone was kind of jamming. So
Yeah.
and getting used to the game. So I played for a month or so, and then I said, this isn't really for me. Like this isn't really going anywhere. And then I stopped for a good, I think about a year.
Okay.
And then from that point is actually after which everything started. So my brother phones me up one day. He's like, hey, just come jam a pickup with me, a CSGO pickup.
The classic
So
with like
I was
IRC and stuff like that to make your
Yeah,
pickups.
I'm busy playing WoW. I'm not really
Oh no, Ron.
playing other games. So I'm picking WoW. And yeah, eventually it was like, one game, it won't hurt,
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, I'm in a team with some random guys, we're just jamming for fun. Just
Yeah.
come and play pickup with me. So I join and I play, and majority of my CS capabilities were still there that I just, took over from 1.6 and also just from jamming CSGO for a bit. So it literally took me a couple of hours to get into the swing of things.
Okay.
Relearn the map and stuff, and literally after that first pickup, they're like, listen, do you want to join our team?
Damn.
So I was like, okay, cool. It was a funny lineup. It was Dan, my brother. It was Burning Red, Mr. Skull, which is a Source player, and Link, Soul. He's an old 1.6 player. A lot of people won't know him now. He moved to the States after 1.6 pretty much finished. And then, yeah, obviously me coming in as the fifth. So And then he was like, "Yo, listen, no pressure, but there's the first CS:GO LAN is gonna be hosted in South Africa, the IS LAN.
Okay.
Don't you just want to come up and jam it for fun, no pressure, no one really. It's the first tournament, no one knows what's gonna happen. Let's just go." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So I actually drove up with Mr. Skull,
Damn.
like 4 in the morning.
And
CRT
Rion lives in PE, just for anyone who's not familiar. So that's a like 11, 12-hour drive one way. CRT monitor, which is way the car's like way down with the boot because of that CRT monitor. Yeah.
Yeah, he had a bucky, so I'm walking around here with my CRT monitor, throwing it on the back, and we cruised through to Joburg, and we pitched up at the LAN. No real practice or anything. We just jammed, and BVD was there, DC was there, SSG. I think they were called SSG back then. So we quite a few teams were there, and we pretty much showed up. We didn't really achieve anything. I think we beat 1 or 2 teams, and then we ended up playing against SSG, which was the favorites, I think, along with DC at that stage. BVD, they weren't really into the game then.
Okay.
They pretty much they had 10 hours in the game, all of them. So
was this at Rage?
No, IS. It was the IS stand.
Okay, so it was like a completely. I thought the IS stand might have been at Rage, so it was just like its own thing altogether. Okay.
It was at the IS Centrum, like the.
Okay, and was this in 2004, 2013 then?
Maybe even 2012.
The game came out 2012, so so it might have been just at the end of its opening year
12,
then.
Okay. It was around that time, yeah.
Got you, okay.
And then, obviously, I knew majority of these people from, competing in 1.6 and stuff, because it's just the same people, some new people from Source.
Yeah.
And then, we ended up playing against SSG, which was a lot of my old teammates. Golz was in there, Zero Chance was in there, Supply was in there.
Okay.
Craig. And then, after I played against them, I think I 40 bombed against them.
Okay.
And then, Ash, I remember Ashton just coming up to me. He's like, "Dude, you're joining our team."
Well, did you know?
After this, you're joining our team.
Were you guys friends before then? Like, did you know each other, or were you... Okay.
We played 1.6 together.
Of course, naturally, okay.
And obviously I had a history with James as well, Jam and XCC with him. Then I left my brother there, and then I joined up with SSG. I think I replaced Waz, I can't remember. And I think Phantom was also in the team at that stage. So we played SSG for quite a while. There were 2 SSG teams, SSG Cream and SSG Dream.
No, why that naming scheme out of all the names?
I don't know, the SSGs even stands for Super Serial Gamers. It's rough.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we were playing for this organization. It's early days. It's random organizations, random names.
Yeah. Of course. That's how it was. Nothing was too serious back then.
Yeah, and I think we went to 2013 Rage, and we played there, and we just had a really disappointing result.
Okay.
And then at that point, I said, I think I'm done with this squad. I think we need to see what we're gonna do going forward.
Okay.
And at that point, Energy was already a team, so that was with Nefan, TC, Krios, Sona, and I can't remember who the 5th was.
Okay.
And then we pretty much did a SSG Energy merger.
Okay.
Where myself and James joined there with TC and Nefan, and then eventually we got Golz in to replace Sona as well.
Okay.
And that's kind of where the Energy dynasty, if you will, it started, and we pretty much took it from there.
Okay. So just to go back, SSG was after your brother's team, when he got you to come play, SSG was sort of the first competitive team you played with CSGO, not fully blown, but the first taste of being a unit, practicing a bit, grinding things out, figuring out your strengths and weaknesses, going through those motions and processes. Then, as you say, you have those results. and you decide, actually, I want to try and take this to the next level. I'm not satisfied with the way things have been going. We need to explore some other options. And Energy was actually a very new organization at the time as well. So this was 2014. Energy was called Monster Gaming before that, and had to change their name because it's a rebrand away from Monster. And then they became Energy Esports, so like Monster Energy. Then they kept the energy side of things, which was cool. And I remember I was actually a part of the Call of Duty team at the time with like Freaky and Broken and Folklol and Swissy and all those guys, and we actually played at a LAN together as well. Like I remember you guys had all those like really nice like white energy jackets and things. Like I was so, because the COD team didn't get it, only the CS team got like all the cool shit.
I remember the COD guys. All the COD guys were cool.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like a cool little like crossover how that ended up working out. But I remember, so let's talk a little bit about that Energy team now. So you guys, you merged in, you got Ash into the mix, so that eventually that team was yourself, Zero Chance, Golz, TC, and Nefan at the time, and then not after too much time you replaced Nefan with Lighters, right?
Yeah, Nefan kind of left for personal reasons.
Okay.
And then we decided to get tools into the team. Now we're talking like in 2013, early 2014, I believe, around that time period.
Okay.
And then, but actually before that, while we were still playing with Nefan, the first LAN that I've ever won was, not even in 1.6, like in CS altogether, was the Liberty LAN, which was, I think, early 2014 or late 2013.
That's actually the one I'm talking about that I met you at for the first time. We had like that massive group photo with like all the Energy players and stuff. Yeah, I remember that. It was the Liberty. Was that like the casino? Was that Emperors maybe or something like that? Yeah.
We had the little Energy meeting in like a separate room, and
in the back room.
Gave like a big speech.
Yeah. Yeah, I was there. I remember that was actually like my first introduction to Ash. I'd never come across him before. And I was just like, that's a guy I want on my team. Like, I don't care how amazed, like, I didn't know him at all, but I'm saying I don't care if he's good or bad at the game. Like, I just have him sitting there in the back just telling me, like, how good I am, because it just motivates you. And it was so cool to see somebody who was, like, so passionate and willing to share that with everybody else. I remember that as well. It's, like, cool that was an impression he made. So, you guys won that event then with Nefan, and that was against Bravado as well. I remember they were there, and they had started to take things more seriously at that point. It was like Detrony, it was Scent, it was Black Poison, was it like maybe Hackham and Anthem in that team, or Deviant or something like that?
Deviant was in there, and Rachno was in there.
That's the one, yeah.
So, this is back in the day where the tournaments were still, it's a big hall, everyone's sitting there, tables, PCs, you can see your opponents.
Can see each other across from one another,
And I still maintain that's out of, don't put me on the stage in a booth or whatever. I want to see my opponent. I want to shout at them, like, with like people sitting behind you in chairs and stuff like that. That's still the best way to play CS in my mind. But anyway, we were kind of going into that tournament. Our boot camp leading into the tournament was us playing Dota and 1v1.
Jesus.
So at that stage, Bravado was taking it like, a lot more seriously as well. We were kind of bleeding into that tournament. We had a boot camp where, us with that Energy lineup, we would just kind of get together and we would just have a chill. We would be drinking.
Okay, you're playing like Dota for your boot camps and stuff.
Yeah, we were way more focused on having everyone in a good mentality and like a vibe more than practicing. Like we had our stuff down, but not nearly like at the right level to potentially be winning a LAN. We were really just playing it all for feel and confidence and good vibes and stuff.
There was a really good synergy in that team as well, right?
Yes, there was a lot of respect for everyone in the team, which was something that was really cool. And then we pretty much went into that Liberty LAN. We played Bravado, I think, in the quarters or in the semis. We beat them there, and then we met them again in the grand final, and then we beat them there again.
Wow, that's a statement.
Yeah, that was the biggest accomplishment for us at that stage. That was a big win for all of us. So we were pretty confident after that, and we were like, listen, if we maybe just work a bit harder and put more time in, we can consistently be the best, And I think after that point or after that LAN, I think we all believed that we could, be playing and repping South Africa.
I think that's why it's actually really important for players to have those successes, because it actually shows them what they're capable of achieving, and it gives them a taste of what they can have if they work hard enough and consistently enough. So I think that's great that you guys got to experience that and then be like, hey, I mean, imagine we weren't, playing Dota on our boot camps. Imagine we actually like scrimmed a couple times and we practiced a few more maps and stuff. Like, we could actually smash these guys, and then what may, where can we go from there, sort of thing. So that was another catalyst, it seems, for you to sort of begin your upward climb. So moving on from there, as you said, you ended up replacing or Nefan left for personal reasons or whatever it was, and you replaced him with Lighters, who came into the team. And this was actually one of my first CS memories in South Africa, was you guys going to Paris. So it was yourself, Golz, Lighters, Zero Chance, and TC, and you went to the Esports World Cup to play against some of the best teams in the world. What on earth was going through your mind? This is your first international event. You've gone from being called by your brother to play a pickup, 16, 17 months ago. Now you're about to get on a flight to go to Paris to play competitively against the best teams. This must have been a massive moment for you in your career.
Yeah, actually, leading up to us going to Paris, we actually attended RAGE first in 2014. And we actually went into RAGE. This was with Tools, Tulani.
Okay.
As I think between us and BVD, we were kind of competing for that number one spot. I think it was a lot closer than people necessarily thought it would be.
Did you think people thought Bravado were always like a step ahead of you guys, or
a bit of a stigma of BVD is the best, and rightfully earned over the years. But I think at that stage we were very close, if not, right there to beat them. And then, we went into that tournament. We unfortunately faced them in the semis instead of in the finals. And, I think everyone at that tournament kind of knew the semis was the finals, because it was us, DVD. The winner of that was most likely going to win the tournament. I remember us going to the third map, and they 14-1'd us on CT side on Nuke. And then we turned around and 14-1 them, and then it went into overtime, and Tian had a clutch round against, I think it was against Dimmy, where Dimmy walked away with 1 HP and he defused the bomb on match point, stuff like that.
Oh my god.
Literally on the day, it could have gone any different way, and that was a really big loss for us going into Paris, because I think Paris happened directly after that. So.
Okay.
We were kind of wanting to get a bit of a confidence boost going into that. I think the maturity and the mindset in the team, props to James, from a leadership perspective, he really pointed out, regardless of the fact that we lost, we are a solid unit, and we need to focus on going overseas and doing our best. So the overseas opportunity was crazy. There was no qualifiers for that. We got invited. I think that was mostly something on HAzE's part, the owner of Energy at that stage. I'm not sure if he still is. We were obviously very thankful for the opportunity. We were all very keen, be the first South African team to go over to represent the country in CS:GO. There was a lot of bullshit with what are they called? The what's Colin Webster's?
MSSA.
Yes, MSSA. We can't fly the South African flag.
Because it's the Esports World Cup, so it's supposed to be an officialized thing. Okay.
So we weren't allowed to fly the South African Cup and bullshit like that, but we did it anyway.
Good.
Fucking
hell, it's pathetic.
We ended up going there. We had a bit of a boot camp. It was quite a mission to get somewhere to have a boot camp, but we eventually found an internet cafe underground somewhere, and we went there. And we didn't have our own PCs. I think we just took our monitors and our peripherals, and we ended up jamming there for a week, scrimming a bunch of European teams. And obviously at that we were losing all of our scrims. We weren't used to that level of play. We've never seen it before. We're coming in there thinking we're hot shit, and we're just getting destroyed.
I wanted to ask you about that. What was the mentality going into playing those matches? Did you actually, you just said it, you thought you were hot shit. Did you guys think, we're going to come and fuck these Europeans up and show them what we're capable of from South Africa, and then you just got slapped back down again?
Yeah, I mean, we knew it was going to be hard, but we were still confident. We can play the game. We've been doing it for a long time. Whatever challenges we face, we'll, eventually be able to overcome them. And I think a week time span, if it even was a week, just obviously wasn't enough, firstly. And secondly, and we played against random people at that, like Russians and stuff, and they were just destroying us on aim and mechanics and stuff. We were convinced half of the people were hacked that we were playing. So it took us a while. I remember we even played against Flamey before he joined Navi. He was playing
like HR. Oh, that, yeah, with Blade. I remember that team. Yeah.
And you just remember. I remember vividly, like, logging into a stream of him playing and like him just stepping and pre-firing all the angles and stuff. I'm like, we don't play like this. These guys are using pop flashes and like smokes with no gaps, and if there is a gap, they're busy posting it and stuff. Like, these guys are playing at a much higher level from a mechanical, like, pre-aim utility perspective. Like, they're just, a lot better than we were at that stage.
Just so on that point, was that like one of the first times you saw how in South Africa we were like in our own bubble in terms of what we've been exposed to and the way we played the game, and then you went overseas and you're like, what the hell, these guys are like on a whole nother level?
Yeah, I mean, we were very much YOLOing util at that stage. Like, we had a couple of lineups and stuff.
Yeah, but the basics.
Yes, nothing like that. Every flash is like a crazy pop flash or a good lineup. They always got the crosshair placement where it needs to be, and that's kind of just where we
fell short.
Learned about it and fell short, and obviously try to compensate. And then with regards to the tournament itself, we went in there knowing, okay, we've been getting destroyed in this boot camp, so let's just go in there, we give it everything we got. Like, if we get shot, it is what it is. Ultimately, no one can really have a big expectation on us. Like, the expectation is on ourselves, so we went into that tournament. We looked at the group we're playing. I think we had 5 Power, which was a team from China. We had London Conspiracy, we had Nav, we had Fnatic, and we had Kick. Yes, Kick was like a Portuguese team or something.
Exactly.
I actually forgot about Kick. But first game against 5 Power, we were kind of looking at the group like, okay, cool, we'll lose against Fnatic, just avoid London Conspiracy on Inferno, because that was like their map.
And then Navi probably also like a team you want to avoid.
Navi are probably going to lose, but Kick and 5 Power will wipe the floor with them. And then we got into the server, and that was obviously 5 Power is like a bunch of the Tyloo guys, At that stage, we didn't know. And they got into the server, and during warm-up, I remember they were just absolutely like one-tapping us everywhere. And I was like, we can't even compete with these guys on aim. They're just so aggressive and mechanically so skilled. And then, we ended up losing like 16-5 to them. Fnatic like 16-1 us.
Yeah.
I think that was...
Hi, Olaf, by the way. Like, he just went absolutely crazy. I remember that.
We went like a 2v1 against Olaf on Mirage, and I think it was myself and Ashton, and we had like a nice crossfire going, okay, you take contact, I'll step after you. And Olaf Meister comes, he kills Ashton, and I swing out to trade, and he almost like 180s me and killed me as well. So I was like, these guys are way too good. Like, that was the one round that we won,
Shit.
So that was quite rough. Then the Navi game was...
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about here, because that one's iconic. That one's actually was like, that was a game that you guys were probably really proud of, like, coming back from that event, because let's give everyone the premise here. You guys are down 14-1 at halftime on your T side.
Yeah.
Surely it's like, here comes another 16-1 game.
Yeah, I think that was the first... Okay, so when you go overseas, it's really hard to get into your rhythm. Like, you join the server, you're playing against these teams, and there's like pressure on you from the get-go. I'm not talking about the pressure of playing in the game. I'm talking about the pressure that they put on you playing their style, kind of dictating the pace or whatever it is. They're landing your shot. It takes you a while to get into your rhythm and play the way that you want to play, especially if you're a team that goes overseas once every year or every 2 years or whatever. So when we played against Navi, on the CT side, we finally, started getting the ball rolling. We were starting to take more confident peaks. We were starting to play more like ourselves, And that's actually the key when you go overseas, is you kind of have to disrespect your opponents, which obviously everyone tries at the start, and then you kind of get pressured, and then you kind of retract, and you don't really play your game.
Yeah.
ultimately you've got nothing to lose when you go over there. You've got nothing to
Yeah.
prove either. You might as well just go balls to the wall and go ape shit. So that was kind of the first time that we were able to do that in that game. And like you said, I think it was a 14-1 or
It was.
13-2.
No, it was 14-1. It was 14-1, yeah.
There was a round where Tian almost clutched as well, so it would have been 13-2 or could have been 13-2. And then, yeah, we went over onto the CT side, and I think we lost that game 16-11 or 16-12.
10,
but we made
maybe, yeah.
10, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We made a pretty nice, like I think a good 7-8 round comeback in a row.
And you popped off as well, by the way. You had a banging game.
I think everyone kind of popped.
But I remember you were the top of the scoreboard. You really, everyone did. Everyone had a good half, but I think you were like 13-3 on the CT side or something like that. Like, it was a really good half.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't even looked at those stats.
Well, you see, it shows you've got your head in the right place, because it doesn't matter what your own individual frags are, whether you're winning or losing the game, right? That's what matters.
Yeah, I just specifically remember James just stepping it up outside with the AWP and like out-AWPing Guardian.
Yeah,
and stuff.
I remember that was one of them, yeah.
Like, you know, But anyway,
yeah.
So that was a pretty cool game. The interview afterwards that they had with Guardian kind of made it worth it, where he was kind of still disrespecting us and be like, you know, we just didn't play our game and they're actually no one and this and that. And seeing how sour he was just made it worth it. So.
Yeah, I love that, man. I really love it. I mean, imagine who would have told you like 6 months before, you're going to have Guardian on a stage just sort of, you know, calling you shitters and telling you you're nobodies for 6 months from now. Like, you never would have believed that. I love that, man. Not many people can say like Guardian called them like nobodies, you know. I feel like that's him kind of indirectly calling you as somebody, actually.
Yeah. And then London Conspiracy, honestly, I can't remember that game.
But it was already done by then, I think, because you guys are like 0-4 in your group, so it's like at this point, yeah.
I mean, we ended up losing to everyone, I think. So, but I mean, it was a really cool experience overall, like getting that type of exposure, meeting those guys. I think I even played table tennis against, no, Fallen wasn't playing at that stage. It was some Brazilian guy, I can't remember. But yeah, we ended up playing like table tennis against like a bunch of guys, you know, so it was cool meeting all of those people, chatting to Crims. I remember going up to Crims and be like, you know, we're playing London Conspiracy, you know, do you have any advice? He's like, don't play Inferno. Don't play Inferno, that's like their map. If you ever play Inferno, they'll wreck you on Inferno. I was like, okay, cool.
Was London Conspiracy that Norwegian team at the time?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, yeah. If I remember correctly, it was like maybe like Polly, maybe Rubino, I don't know, like...
Jeez, I really can't.
Zeeves or something. Yeah, I'm just spitballing here. But okay, so I mean, hey, you guys went there, you traveled, you got a crazy experience. I feel like for every team that goes overseas, you have to actually get like okay, you guys are really bad, but like destroyed so that you can understand what it takes. Like the one point you made is actually the best advice I think you could give to any team going overseas. You have to try and get your rhythm, because that's the most difficult thing to achieve when you're playing overseas. As you join the server, you're thinking about so many other exterior factors. You're actually not even focusing on everything that you're supposed to be doing. So trying to get into your rhythm and play your game, I think that is actually like the most important thing to focus on. Try to cut everything else out of it and just focus on that, because I agree, like you're so flustered. As you get up on the stage, the crowd, the lights, the commentators, the speakers, everything just sort of overwhelms you. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many factors to consider. Like you going over there, firstly, you most likely jet lagged, or you just didn't sleep well on the flight there.
Naturally, yeah.
You pretty much just checked in. You most likely didn't have a boot camp, so you know everyone's kind of tired and annoyed. And now you go into a PC, onto a setup that you've never played on before. You're not comfortable yet. They're telling you
the desk height is different, the chairs, everything. Yeah.
To join the server against a team that you didn't necessarily prepare for, even if you did, you know, you've never played against these guys before. You don't have exposure playing. All the exposure you have is playing against the 6 or 7 different South African teams that you're consistently scrimming against. You know, now you're going into an international tournament, so. Yeah. I mean, you got all of those factors. Now it's maybe your first time that you're on a stage, or first time playing like a really big team in a really big match. You know, and now you gotta synergize with your team. Everyone's gotta remember everything you've practiced. You gotta apply it. You gotta apply with confidence. It's difficult. There's really a lot of factors going into it that ultimately determines how you're going to play. So I really don't think any team that goes over, even in the last, like, since then up until now, any team that wins a qualifier locally here and just goes over, it's not a good representation of what that team has to offer.
Absolutely.
It takes time. It really
Yeah.
does. The way that we got used to it was living in NA. Like that was pretty much it.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. That's coming up soon, because that actually leads me to my next point. I just want to make it now quickly. We'll talk about it later a lot more though. You mentioned how you have to learn through it. You have to go through the process that you can get in touch with it. That all culminated for you guys at DreamHack Open 2018 Winter. Like all those things that you spoke about leading up to that point. Finally, it felt like that was your event, where everything worked out for you. But let's not get too far ahead of that just yet, because that's coming up soon. So, carrying on talking about this Energy team, we've spoken about the rivalry you had with Bravado. You already touched on how crazy it is to sort of, have your opponents directly across from you in these halls, with the people breathing down your neck, sitting right behind you, everybody watching your every move. Ash wins a clutch, he gets up, he stands, he's shouting at them. Dimmy wins a clutch, he's also going back at them, typing in the server, making sure that he's not letting anyone settle. Like, what was that even like for you to experience, like, in that moment? Because it's such a unique feeling, I feel like.
I think the two tournaments where we really experienced that was obviously both when we were playing for Energy. The one was the Liberty LAN and the one was the Rage event.
Okay, so both those times, yeah.
Were in 2014. At Liberty, we were sitting directly opposite of Bravado, and then at Rage they were like a bit to our right, but we could at least you could always see them.
Yeah.
I mean, when you got like 30 or 40 people grabbing chairs and sitting behind you, and you got the admin going, "Hey guys, fire regulations, we can't do this," and everyone's like, "Screw you, we're just gonna watch this game."
Yeah.
Then I mean, everyone's shouting, everyone's making noise.
Do you have any memories, like specific memories from those games that like you played against Bravado? Like anything that happened? Because I always remember Ash like actually taking his headset off and like shouting at them mid game.
Every round.
Yeah.
If we win a round, he's got his headphones off, he's standing, he's screaming at the guys, he's praising the teammates that won the clutch. I mean, I don't know if it was that tournament, but I had this one LAN where I just had so many 1v3 clutches. And Ash would just stand up every round and just pat back. There was nothing cooler than like seeing like 4 dark screens, and I mean you can see in your field of vision that everyone else's screen is dark, and all eyes on you, and I'm playing in this clutch. There's 40 people behind me, everyone's standing.
Yeah.
And you win that clutch. There really is like no better feeling. Like it doesn't even compare going onto a stage and there's a 100,000 people watching you on stream. Like it's not the same.
Yeah.
I'd rather have 40 people behind me shouting at the top of the lungs. It's just it's phenomenal. I love it.
That's really cool, man. So, like I don't even think we'll ever experience that ever again, to be honest with you, Ron. I think like those are the times in the past.
We just gotta go back to our roots.
Yeah, I know, because it seems like everyone thinks like growth is going in it like towards the stage and having the booths, it's if you go back to the dungeon, it feels like it's regression. But I get you, I loved it as well, man. So let's talk now next about this Energy team. So we've spoken about your rivalries and whatnot. You make another roster change, for whatever reason. Lighters gets replaced, and there is a specific somebody who comes into the team. Now this somebody was very controversial at that point in time. Pretty much everybody thought he was hacking. Nobody really wanted to even pick him up because they were scared of the implications that could come from it. And his name was Sonic. And we spoke about how they used to have people standing behind him. Sonic played that same LAN. I think he played for another team in that 2014 Rage event. And there might have been, I'm not joking, like 100, 150 people just like standing behind this like, I think he might have been like 16 or 15 or something at the time, and just like fucking destroying everybody like he was online. So you guys pick up Sonic to replace Lighters. First of all, was this like a no-brainer for you when you saw how good he was, or what was the convincing factor for you to bring this young and up-and-coming player into the team?
So just to get back to that tournament, so that was actually at Rage 2014 where we had semi-final against BBD. And I remember Aaron playing for, I can't remember what the name of the team was.
Like WRG maybe or something? I don't know, maybe not even.
He was kind of like, I remember like my front left, diagonally left for me. And I remember like seeing him, little ginger kid sitting there with his headset on, and he was alone at the PCs. No one else was there, and there was a bunch of people standing behind him watching him. There was a lot of talks, is this guy for real, whatnot. And I remember like just a few of us going up and saying, like, screw the haters, just jam, like, you're obviously not hacking on that and you're showing people, so just keep doing what you're doing. I think at that point he just really needed to feel like not everyone's against him.
Yeah.
I think shortly after that, we ended up replacing tools and picking up Sonic.
Yeah.
I can't remember the exact reason behind that. But yeah, Sonic is obviously, in terms of alternatives, yes, he was a no-brainer for us. Obviously, a very talented up-and-coming player. At that time, I think he was like 16. So we just figured we got quite a lot of experience in our squad. We got a nice unit. So if he joins us, you know, we can kind of mold him into the player that we would want to be. And then, yeah, we picked him up. But yeah, unfortunately, he only really started blossoming, if you will, playing his CS after he left Energy.
Okay.
He during the Energy days, I mean, we had that Jukes LAN in 2015.
Yeah. I was there.
To as well. But yeah, I think that was the second LAN that he represented us at, and at that point we're just kind of all. I mean, this is in 2015. We were kind of all on the point of, you know, we just lost to BVD in the previous Rage. We just lost to them at EGE. Now we're playing them at Jukes for the qualifier to go to ESWC Montreal. And yeah, there was just a lot of like pressure on all of us to beat BBD, and then we ended up not doing that. But I don't think he had a particularly good tournament.
Yeah,
and we were all kind of, especially me, and I've kind of maintained this throughout our career together. But I've always been quite hard on Aaron. More so obviously from a good intentions, like I'm trying to help him or whatever. But back then, there was just too much pressure that I ended up taking out on him.
Okay.
So I don't think he particularly enjoyed it back in Energy. But later on in BVD, you know, like we kind of have our dynamic. You know, I shit on him, he's stubborn back. You know, we kind of.
Yeah, because he's got that behind him now, because he's just like, he knows he's good, he's been proven that he's good, so he's almost got a bit more of a backbone now, maybe.
Yes. There's a, like I say, we got our own dynamic, but at the end of the day, like, Aaron is a very, very talented player. I think probably like right behind Dimi in my mind in terms of, you know, just pure CS mechanics and
ability.
Just ability, yes, that's the word that I'm looking for. But yeah, I think him and Dimi kind of had the same type of upbringing, in the sense of they were exposed to pretty high level of competition relatively early on in their lives. I mean, Dimi grew up with BVD, and he played in 1.6 and Source and CSGO, you know, from the get-go.
Yeah.
Whereas Aaron was fortunate enough to kind of join us at Energy at 16.
Yeah.
And then I think when he was 17, he was in BVD. So, I mean, now look where he is. So, you know, the path that you take from an early age really has a massive impact on where you can end up ultimately. Like, the earlier that you start, the better. If you take someone like Mango right now, the kid's like 16, turning 17 this year, I think. And I mean, he's been playing at a high level for
2 years now. Yeah, even a bit. It's just like a year and a half. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if you take him in a couple of years, you know, it's going to make a big difference if he didn't take this route.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just want to touch on something a bit more there, because it sounds like they might have, because we were talking a bit about Sonic now, and it's actually a really interesting conversation, because when you look at him in the context of what he's achieved and where he is today, you know, like one of the best players in North America, you could argue. I mean, obviously there's a lot of other players, but when he's at his peak, he's capable of going toe to toe with the top players in the country in that scene. You started out with him on the beginning of the journey, and it sounds like you guys had, like, not, I don't want to say like friction, but like you guys, you didn't get along as well as you potentially could have in a team.
I think that was more, I'd say the initial step was definitely more my fault, in the sense of, obviously we're the more mature people in the squad. I'm not sure how old I was at that stage. I think I was 20 or 21.
Yeah.
And I cared more about winning than caring about how I necessarily treated him.
Gotcha.
So I don't think he necessarily enjoyed.
Okay.
There was a lot of criticism from my side.
So you guys were harsh.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were that was kind of the dynamic that we had in it. We were all hard on each other, and but that took time. I mean, it took 2 years of us playing together before we could get to the point where we could criticize each other, and there's enough respect in the squad to know it's not personal.
Yeah, absolutely.
we just all want the best for each other. And to do that to a 16-year-old that's being accused of hacking, coming into a squad, like obviously he's intimidated, playing at a high level.
Yeah.
Everyone in him, and this guy's just constantly shitting on him. Like, it's not a nice feeling, obviously.
Yeah.
So that was pretty dumb from my side, you know, in retrospect. But yeah, since then, you know, he's obviously become the player that he is now. We've played in BVD for quite a long time together. And, you know, obviously once he got to the point where he realized, you know, he's got that self-confidence, he knows what he can bring to a team, he knows who he is, he really didn't care anymore what, you know, when Marwan had to say when I'm shitting on him. You know, it's like, you know, whatever. I'll hear you out.
Back.
If you're going to talk to me like that, I'm not going to listen, you know, type of thing. So we kind of figured out, you know, our dynamic, like we say.
Cool, yeah.
Stubborn kid though.
I mean, it makes sense because like you said, it took you 2 years to build up to that point where you guys were all on this level where you could, like, you know, really communicate with each other at a high level and criticize one another and not take it personally. He sort of just got like slotted into that all of a sudden. So he was almost just like committed to the same standards that the rest of the team was. So I get why that was a challenge. Yeah. Okay. So just one more thing I want to say about Sonic. So you one of the first officials you play with him is that what event was this? I need to quickly check this. So was that like some?
I think it was EGE was the first LAN we played. That the LAN in Cape Town. We ended up playing against BVD in the finals there as well, and we fell short there.
Yeah, there was one where you played. It was this BH. No, you played against DC, and you played against DC with Sonic. And he drops 36 kills for 20 deaths, and you guys lost 16-12. And this was against DC with Black Poison. Black Poison was like subbing in for them at the time. Sorry, I can't find it right now, but yeah, he goes 36 and 20. And I just wanted to ask, like, was that like was that like a defining moment where you're like, this kid is just nuts, or did you always know that he really had that?
I think that was when Robbie came back from Sweden.
Yeah, it was.
He joined DC for a while.
Yeah.
And then Sonic went in there. I remember the game specifically because I had a $40 Asimov AWP skin that someone gave to me, and I never used it. I never bet on any games, and then I was like, you know, just before betting was kind of, you know, taboo. You can't bet on all that stuff. So I was like, you know, I'm going to throw this game on ourselves. You know, like, I'm going to put the game, like, we're going to win this game.
Yeah, you're going to bet your Asimov on yourself.
Yeah, I'm going to take my chances. First time I've ever bet, and we lose. I was like,
my God.
how is this possible? But yeah, no, the thing is, I don't specifically remember who was top scoring in that game, but I remember, like, at that stage knowing that Aaron was obviously...
Yeah.
You know, a monster back then already.
Okay, it was just a small little anecdote that I wanted to ask you about. Okay, so that's pretty much all I had to talk about that Energy team. Was there anything that I missed, or was that was pretty much the gist of it?
Was the Jukes LAN in 2015, which was the qualifier to go to Montreal.
I almost wanted to like wipe that thing away from my memory. That LAN. I was at that bar. You remember? It was just like the most horrifically organized thing.
It was still the best because everyone was boozing and drinking and getting absolutely sloshed and like banging on the windows and shouting, and people were getting rowdy. So yeah, it was awesome in the sense of like the crowd was really involved. I remember playing against BVD there as well in the finals. We came in from the loser bracket. They had a map advantage in a best of 5. They took the first map, which was Inferno, which we should have vetoed. And then they were 2-0 up. Obviously, they need one more map, and then we got 2 maps in a row, and then we lost the third. So it was we kept
crazy.
Really, really close finals with BVD, which was awesome for the scene back then. I think, you know.
Yeah, it was one of the themes of South African Counter-Strike.
Yes, it's not just this era of, you know, one team's just dominating everyone. There was like really close competition for quite a while, and then they went over, and obviously after that I decided to I just wanted a bit of a change of scenery, and then my brother also kind of was like, you know, let's jam together again, and then I was like, I'm going to take a step back from this squad. I'm going to join up with my brother and just jam and see how that goes.
So that brings us to our next points of conjecture, so I'm glad that you bring that up. So the Energy team, actually, you're not the only one that feels that way. It seems like everybody has that feeling, because everybody sort of separates from there. It's not like there's a core three that hang around. That whole energy team gets reformed off. It's like Zio, Custom, Nefan. I think maybe like Tuckbok was in that team. So it becomes a whole new roster.
That was off the back of, unfortunately, it was a bit of a snowball effect from me leaving. So I left, and then Ashton decided that he was keen to stick with me. So he left and decided to join Carbon with me. And then at that point, it was obviously just James, Tian, and Sonic. And I think that's pretty much when BVD picked Sonic up.
Yeah.
So that leaves 2 people in Energy, and I think that's pretty much when they decided to just revamp
Got you.
that whole squad.
Okay, so then you spoke about Carbon. So your brother gets in touch with you. He's like, come, let's have a crack at a bit of a project here. And you formed that Carbon roster with Spoof. I'm not sure where Ash joined, but I saw Spoof, Kani, Hackham, and Flares was that team. But that wasn't like it didn't seem like very serious or like a really long-term type of thing. Kind of was over before it began, really.
Yeah, it never really took off. I think obviously the fault more lies with me. In hindsight, that wasn't the best move, especially not at that time. But I just felt like we just came off of 3 losses against BVD. I was kind of over it. I felt like I just needed something else. And then I joined up with my brother. We got Hackham, we got Canny, Trevor, and then Golz was in the squad initially as well.
Okay.
And then that's when BVD made their roster pickups and picked up Sonic and picked up Golz.
Okay.
And when they picked up Golz, then obviously we replaced. We got Flares in.
Okay.
And we played like that for a while. Attended a Rage in 2015, didn't really go well. Got knocked out like 8th, I think. From pretty much competing for first to ending up 8th at Rage was rough. So after that, I was pretty much finished. I think I even told my brother like I'm either joining BVD if they want me at the end of 2015, or I am going to try and make a squad to beat them, which pretty much means I'm probably going to kick everyone and just start from scratch.
Okay.
And he said that's fine. So and then obviously at that point, Telkom Masters became an official thing, contracts for days and all of this. So they wanted everyone to sign like a year or 2-year contracts, and rosters need to be locked by December 2015 for 2016. It was ridiculous.
Never heard of that in my life.
Yeah, and then it just kind of happened that at that point everyone was trying to finalize their rosters, so that's when I came in and replaced Tools in BVD.
Yeah, that's it. You replaced Lighters. That's end of 2015, I think.
Yes.
Okay, so as you say, you're either going to make a team or you're going to join Bravado. Was there always like talks that Bravado was a potential option for you, or was it you as the person where you're like, I want to be in that team because I know they're winners and I want to be a part of that? Or what was it?
I've always wanted to be a part of obviously the best team.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be a part of BVD. At that point, I haven't even said a word to Dimi, and we've been competing against each other for 10 years.
But you don't even know each other outside of just competing.
No. So yeah, we never spoke. We never really played against each other.
In fact, you were big rivals for the most part.
100%. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, there was never real. I don't think they were necessarily that interested in picking me up, which is why they picked up Sonic and Golz.
Yeah.
I think the person that really rooted for me was Ashton. He's the one that even said like, if you guys want to, be the best, like you need to pick up Rowan.
Wow. Okay.
And yeah, no, he really rooted for me from day one. And he's probably the main reason why I got into that squad.
Wow.
So,
that's big.
Yeah.
That's really big, man.
So ended up joining them, jammed with them for a while, and obviously a few changes, and
Yeah. So before we get into this, we're going to talk about Bravado in 2 conversations. The first one we're going to do is like 2015 to 17 before you went over on Project Destiny, and then we'll talk part 2. We'll be talking about Project Destiny. So after that change where you come into the team, it's like 4 months later. You replace Deviant with Black Poison, actually. So that's a big change, Ron, because now Black Poison used to be a part of Bravado. Then he went overseas, he was in Sweden, played in that Nerd Rage team, actually, was touted as like a potential star internationally to go quite far. And then I remember he had that interview with HLTV, said he was like working quite a lot there as well. He couldn't commit full time to CS and all the rest of it. Anyway, long story short, he ends up coming back to South Africa. Now, whether he was still planning on playing CS or not, I'm not entirely sure. He plays in that DC team for a little bit. I remember that was always temporary. It was never a permanent thing. And then you guys pick him up in April 2016 to replace Deviant. Tell me about this move now, because did you see this as was this a no-brainer because he was a free agent on the market, or was this something that you had to like think quite a lot about?
So we never really wanted to get rid of Richard. The problem was just his internet was horrible.
Okay.
He had like wireless internet. He was if anyone was playing at that time against him, you would know Richard's internet was terrible. He was like teleporting everywhere. He was lagging. And at that point, we were already in the mindset of we want to play to be the best in the country and then to go overseas. And I mean, he's already got a job, and he wasn't like 100% sure whether that was an option for him.
Okay.
So in the greater scheme of things, we just had to go. Okay. Ultimately, this is the direction that we want to go. This is the requirements that we have for every player, and if you have an issue in terms of like availability or just the stability of the internet or whatever, then it's obviously hindering us in a sense. And I mean, Rich is an absolute champion. Like he completely understood.
He's one of the best guys out there in the South African scene, hands down.
Hands down. And he just took it and he said he 100% understands. Like he doesn't want to hold us back. Like he loves jamming CS, but he understands completely.
Okay, so it's like a forced change more than you guys wanting to actually make an upgrade in the team.
Yes. No, it was never an upgrade factor.
Yeah.
It was just the instability
Okay.
and obviously the future prospects.
Yeah.
And then with regards to like that chat hadn't even happened up until the point obviously where we had to consider who would we get. And I think at that point Robbie, like you said, had just come back from Sweden after playing there for a while. He already had a bit of a history with obviously Demi and them and the BVD guys have already gone overseas. So there wasn't like it wasn't like a no-brainer, but eventually it was like let's do it. We can work out whatever needs to be worked out. Ultimately, we want to try and get the best 5 and just increase our chances of making it. So
Okay.
that's when we picked him up. Yeah.
So that's like, it's quite an interesting decision you have to make, right? Because you have to weigh up the options as to, is the good gonna outweigh the bad? And it seems like you guys came to the decision that, listen, even though there might be some friction there or something, it's nothing we won't be able to resolve and try and put outside of the service so that we can present our best team when it does come to playing the game. So that must have been like quite a mature, decision for you guys to make.
I think it's that was probably the first time that we decided to make that decision of it's not personal, it's business type of thing. We're gonna go for the best option, and we'll work out the personal shit as best we can. And I think the same we'll obviously get to this later on when we ended up picking up JT and Fadey. Like we've been rivals and we've been competing against them, but especially JT, like he had a bit of a cheek, like he never really listened to us, really respected us.
Okay.
Like so even picking him up and Fadey was like, we're just gonna put personal shit aside, we'll work on it, and let's just do it for the greater good type of thing.
Okay, so you bring Black Poison into the team, then you obviously, as we mentioned, he replaces Deviant, and it's not at all a controversial move, but it's a big move. It's a big move in South African Counter-Strike because he's rejoining Bravado. You guys are also the best, and now you've like even increased your stocks now even more by bringing, he was an international player, playing in Sweden and whatnot. So that's a big one, and he joins the team, and you guys just have like 2016 is a year where you pretty much just coast through the scene. Carbon, as you mentioned, like the one team that might be able to take a map off of you here or there, but outside of that, there was like no competition.
Yeah, I think when Robbie joined, he really helped us a lot with kind of the meta of how things were getting played in Europe. Obviously, from just being there a lot longer than anyone else.
The experience and exposure.
Yeah, no, he really emphasized the principle of like playing your defaults out and settling and do this and that, and playing a lot more patient. And I think if you look at the style that we played before and after he joined, there was quite a clear difference, and we kind of on playing that style for quite a while up until the point where we had to change things up again. But that's still always in the back of your mind as something that you know now. But yeah, no, we definitely learned a lot and we took a lot from it.
So, I mean, bringing Black Poison into the team then was actually a massive benefit for you guys because, as you say, he added so much value, gave you that international pedigree almost, and approach helped you, get that approach under your, or like start taking the international approach to your game as well. So I guess that must have been a massive bonus for you guys in your preparations for what was to come in, the next 18 months or whatever.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. So, you smashed the scene in 2016. As I say, there's pretty much little to no competition throughout besides Carbon. It was like JT, Flexi, Fadey, Makmur, Dom. Kanye played in that team for a bit. Like, it was just like Hackham. It was just like guys who could shoot shit, right? It was like they could just kind of run over you if one or two of them popped off. Like they were never like incredibly structurally sound or anything, but they had some solid individuals. Always felt like they were going to be like a feeder team. It was never going to be anything incredibly long term. But there was nothing. You guys didn't go overseas in 2016 or anything like that, did you? As Bravado?
Jeez, no, I don't think so.
No, I didn't see that.
I don't know.
Okay.
I know we went to WSG with. Yes, it must have been in 2016. We went with Robbie and with Ash.
Checking.
We played in WSG.
It was Copenhagen Games in 2016. That's Energy. My bad. I'm looking at Energy's information right now. Okay, so you went to WESG in 2016 then, and that was with Ash, right? So was that the China WESG?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And what are your recollections from that event?
Jeez.
Anything or not too much at all? Because see, I've actually got it. This was like Swift. You beat Swift Dark Passage, which I think even had like Woxic in it at the time. You beat Chosen 5, and then you lost to Space Soldiers 16-2, 16-1.
Oh, that was in Dubai. Yes, that was the qualifier in Dubai. I think leading into the main event. So that was like one of our main tournaments with that particular lineup where we came second. Okay. I think we've got a record for the team with the least amount of rounds won in a final.
Oh, fuck, okay.
Yeah, I think we got like
3 rounds.
Yes. But yeah, so WSG in Dubai there was about 3 South African teams. We were there, Carbon was there, and DC was there as well. We ended up playing against Dark Passage, which was a Turkish team, along with Space Soldiers. They were there as well. But Dark Passage was in our group. They were probably the hardest team in our group. I don't think they really expected losing to us based on like the expressions afterwards. There was even some tears, like those guys were not happy.
Really?
No, we beat them and went into the playoffs, and then we played against the C5 team, like you said, that had Woxic in. Pretty much, we beat them quite confidently as far as I can remember. And then we went into the finals against Space Soldiers, and we just got bulldozed. Like, we couldn't do anything. I don't know if it was the fact that it's a final. I don't know if it was the way that they were playing, if we were just playing a bit scared. But, like, we couldn't even take middle control on T-side. Like, it's not... I mean, and it's one person, and it's Zantares. It's like killing people from lows and stuff. And it's like, sure, he's good, but, I mean, there's 3 of us who should be able to take middle control. Like, flash him, kill him, double step him, whatever the case is. Like, there's really no excuse for the way that we played.
Okay.
So, yeah, that was just unfortunate. But it was still a big bonus for us, like, coming second at WSG, getting some prize money, and then qualifying for the event in China.
Okay. So you did actually qualify for the event in China then, which you guys went and played later that year, or... Okay, it was actually in January of 2017. Okay, so that makes sense then. But then you guys also played in the ESWC 2016. Now, I see, Ron, where is this in your memory now? Because you played against these...
Oh, yes, in Paris.
Yes. So you lost to LDLC, then you beat some Indian team, and then you lost to LDLC again. I actually remember watching that game.
I can't believe these tournaments are literally like ain't anymore. ESWC was pretty crazy. I cannot really remember our route up until that point. I just remember being on stage against LDLC. It was a really big game. And we ended up like sitting in front of, like in the main stage, there's like 2,000 people
Yeah.
spectating. Uh, Everyone's obviously cheering for LDLC, the
Yeah.
French team, and being able to shut that crowd up on like a map or two was the best thing. It's just 2,000 people like sinking into their chairs and no one saying anything, and we just taking round by round, and then eventually we got to the last map that was Dust 2, and I think we even had like a pretty big advantage, and then we ended up losing the map, and yeah, that was pretty much the main point of that tournament, the main thing that I can really remember.
Yeah, I remember you beat them on train, and that it was the decider match. It was, so you played them in BO1, lost, then you beat another Indian team, and then you played them in the group decider match, and you beat them on train. And I remember like that was one of the first times where I was like, holy shit, a South African team is actually being legit overseas right now. It's a BO3. They're playing against a team in their home crowd. You're playing against Existence as well, which is like one of the most illustrious IGLs of all time in international Counter-Strike. And you've just taken the map off of them. Dimmy was open like a god. In fact, everybody, I'm checking out, everyone was positive, so everyone was on point on that map. That must have been, yeah?
We had we had triple ops on train CT side, which was like unheard of. I remember Pansy, the commentator, who was even like, is this a thing? Is this like a South African meta? Like, what's going on? We got an AWP at Ivy, we got an AWP in Z, we got an AWP inside, and we were just picking them apart on our CT side. I think even Robbie was pulling out a auto sniper and shit at the time.
Jesus.
Like, so yeah, we really like had a good showing on train.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the map was that we lost, and then Dust 2 I know was the decider that we unfortunately lost.
Okay, so moving on then. So I mean, couple international events then, because then you also went to play in WESG, which we touched on as well. That was in January next year, because you guys carry on dominating the scene, right? You win Rage 2016 fairly easily as well, if I'm not mistaken. But let's now talk about. So I'm just checking here now. After Rage was actually, that's when you made the change, right? That's when you replaced Black Poison and Golz with Fadey and JT.
Yes.
Okay, so that's actually like, that's a moment etched in history, actually, if you think about it, because that was the roster change, which then led on to what eventually became the team that went, into Project Destiny. So let's talk about that change. It comes at the end of 2016. You guys have, you've had a pretty decent year, all things considered, but now there's it was quite abrupt. I remember from an outside perspective, it was just like there was this tweet, and all of a sudden, Black Poison and Golz weren't in the team anymore.
It was directly after we came back from WSG in China.
So should we talk about WESG first then?
Yeah. So there's some drama there that I'm not going to go into, but at the end of the day, like we played at that tournament. Things didn't really go that well for us in the tournament itself. There were talks of other organizational opportunities, and that ended up causing some drama long term. And then, there was talks of, what the team was going to be like and all of that type of stuff. So at the end of the day, when the dust settled and everything was finished, we came back home and we just decided to make two changes, and we ended up getting JT and Fadey. We knew they were going to be a package deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just decided to pick them up.
So I think like a good word to summarize would just be like internal conflict, right? There was just like things going in within the team that ended up being too much to be able to actually look past and try and continue operating together.
Some of it was quite a long time coming, yeah.
Okay, cool. I think that's like important to note, because it did look quite weird from the outside. It was just like, yeah, Black Poison's now got some opportunities to go to America, and it's like, that you guys were doing so well together, and then, Golz wasn't in the team anymore. So I do remember being a little bit like skeptical of just it being a, Black Poison wants to go separate ways. So yeah, internal conflict happens, especially when you spend long periods of time with people in such intense environments, very different and contrasting opinions. Tends to happen, right?
Yeah. No, I think ultimately the general vibe that we had in the team, like personalities were clashing, and it had an effect on everyone's like mentality, their motivation, their performance.
Okay.
And it just wasn't conducive to like good results.
Okay. All right, so let's move the conversation forward now. So we go from 2016 to 2017, and you pick up, as we say, JT and Fadey. Now these are the two youngsters who sort of made their names for themselves in the Carbon roster. JT actually came from Battlefield. Fadey used to play Call of Duty. His name was JT Rat before even, and him and Dimmy used to just, I think they were secretly in love with each other, actually, is how I see it. Because I remember they would just always, go at each other, when they were against one another, on the server, typing messages. Dimmy likes to get on people's skin, I know, so he likes to send some cheeky messages. And as you say, JT, he likes to clap back as well. So I always remember, from this, it seemed like JT and Dimmy had a feud, but I think between them it was always like a running joke, maybe?
It was pretty serious, eh?
Okay.
I mean, we obviously at that stage we've been number one for a while. Dimmy's been number one for majority of his career. Everyone knows him. We've been playing this game for a long time, and Johnny would just do weird ass shit in games, and he would get away with a lot of it, but it wouldn't make sense. He would run in by himself and just do random stuff, and at that point, it was more of a little bit of advice going, hey, that's maybe not the best way to approach it, which is kind of how we wanted to get it across, most obviously to me. And then Johnny just wouldn't have any of it. And he's like, who are you? I don't care who you are or what you think. And that's always been Johnny's mentality. He really doesn't give a shit. He just does him,
Yeah.
He does what he
Which
wants to
has
do.
its pros and its cons, obviously. But was this after Johnny joined the team, where Dimmy would try and give him advice and JT would be like, dude, I'm playing my game?
While we were competing, while he was still in Carbon.
Okay, I see.
So there was a bit of tension in that regard, which is why, once again, like I said earlier, we kind of put that personal stuff aside and said, we'll work that stuff out on the side. But from a business perspective, over results, let's pick these two kids up and see where it goes.
Let's look at it like this. You've got JT and Fadey, who are just fucking phenomenal at the game. They're very good. They're very mechanically skilled. And with a bit of tinkering, you've got someone like TC as the coach as well. We can get these kids in order, and then we can actually have some fire roster. So I'm glad that you guys saw past the bullshit, the petty shit, just to make that move happen. So you bring JT and Fadey into the roster, which is, as I say, an iconic change. And you go through the year 2017. Now, it's pretty back and forth between you and Energy, I think, for the most part in the year 2017. I think you guys beat them in ESL Africa Season 1, the online finals, and they beat you in the LAN finals, but you won a couple other events. They might have won an event here or there as well. 2017 seemed like one of the most competitive years we've had between Energy and Bravado. What do you make of that sort of rivalry in that year?
I think it
was also, sorry, just to add, also Black Poison had joined Energy, right? So there was also that added storyline to the whole narrative.
That was actually what I was going to say now. Is at that point I was IGLing for BVD, and I pretty much just copy-pasted majority of the stuff that the way that we've been playing beforehand. And obviously Robbie, coming from BVD, knew, obviously he taught us a lot of this stuff. So he just went over to Energy and pretty much counter-shouted us.
Okay.
Usually leading into some of the bigger tournaments. I remember them having set pop flashes for exactly the angles that we were playing on, pistol rounds and stuff. So I mean, they really did their homework in that sense, and it showed. And unfortunately, in BVD we were quite arrogant in the sense that we never watched anyone's demos.
Yeah.
We barely watched our own demos. We just kind of grinded and worked on our own stuff, and we were obviously skilled and confident players. So we went into the server in the back of your head, cool, we should be winning this game, and you just go all out. And if at that point, if you've got 10 skilled players on the server, the team that does the most work is most likely going to be the team that comes out on top. And they ended up, I think, in that time period, they just did more work than us, and I was very set in the way that I was calling. That kind of, I think, ultimately led a bit to the negative results that we had in that year.
Okay.
So I don't know if that was really it was a good thing for me that I did call, and I learned a lot from calling. But I think if someone else might have called it, it could have potentially been different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think early on in that year when we picked them up, we were winning majority of the stuff, and then leading on to the end of that year, I think we had two big tournaments, ESL Africa, and there was another Axlan or something, I can't remember. And I know Energy beat us in both of those.
Okay. So going in through the year, I remember, let's talk about ESL Africa Season 1 first, because ESL Africa was actually like a landmark tournament. It was ESL having an adventure, a league in South Africa, was involving North African teams as well. They had a thing going there, and there was a really big prize pool. We had studio broadcasts. Like, it was a really big step up for South African Counter-Strike,
Yeah,
right?
we just didn't have proper CSGO servers.
Yeah, Jesus. I mean, like, if you're going to put all that money into everything else, but just, was it playing on like Below or something, or was it just not even, was it like telecoms?
Yeah, it's a problem with the servers that they set up locally, so we ended up having to play online.
Oh, that was at the LAN. Yeah.
And we had to play.
I remember.
It's like, how can you not set up?
I know. We'll talk about that. But now with Season 1, it was an online final, Bravado versus Energy, and I think you guys won 3-1, if I'm not mistaken, but there was a really big turning point on Overpass, which was either like the third or the fourth map, and Energy had taken full control of the B bomb sites on their T side, and they'd left the bomb in spawn, or like towards spawn, and they had full control. There was like 15 seconds left in the round. Everybody was clearing out the sites. It was like a 4v1 even, or something like that. Or I think the guy was saving, who was ever last alive.
And they sitting in heaven behind the smoke, and we were just waiting for them to plant the bomb. I think it was even match point, like they were going to take the map.
Yes, and it went to OT, and they lost the map, I think.
Yes, and then they forgot the bomb, and then obviously we wanted that. Everyone was laughing. It was, I think, obviously the laughing, and it all contributed to the vibe that's ultimately put through. But yeah, it was quite close.
I remember it was like something like, because that prize pool, I don't remember what the exact amount, but it was like a couple 100,000 if I'm not mistaken. And someone was like, that's a $10,000 mistake right there, dropping the bomb. That became like the running joke or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. So I remember that. But then going through the year 2017, you said still back and forth. Energy are probably getting the better of you guys a bit more consistently. What was the dynamic like in the team at that point? After now you've been playing with JT and Fadey for 6 or 7 months now. I'm sure there's the conversations of Project Destiny are already starting at this point now, the potential to go to America, right?
Yes, no, the plans were already set. We were going to leave at the end of 2017. So, I mean, that's kind of, those plans were set in motion when Johnny and Reese joined.
Okay, that was always, okay.
That was kind of the, listen, if you're joining, this is the plan, which is obviously, I think, one of the main reasons why they joined as well. But yeah, I think obviously initially the vibe was good. I mean, we even played that Metal State LAN where we that was, I think, early 2017, where we won that quite convincingly, I think, and then we carried on that streak for a while up until, like I say, that Axtan and that ESL Africa tournament where we lost both of them.
Yeah.
The vibe, I mean, obviously we were a bit down about the fact that we lost, but we weren't going to let that affect. We're going overseas now, so we need to brush it off and put it aside. But there was definitely some conflict in the team with regards to how did it happen, why did it happen, and I think at that point I said I'm not going to call anymore.
Okay,
that's where I decided to step down from the calling.
Was that after the LAN finals for ESL Africa that used? Okay, because that's where you guys lost to Energy 3-0. I think that was like quite a shock result because everyone always, as you said, like Bravado had the aura. Even if any people knew how good Energy were, it was still always shocking to see Bravado lose a final 3-0. Especially considering, as you said, you guys were going overseas a couple months from there, so you always wanted to sort of prove yourself as the best before you go overseas, right? So I'm not surprised that the mood was a bit bleak. That it's like like this is a bit of a, even though you're still going, it's a bit shitty that this is the note that you're finishing things off on.
It felt like a lot. The vibe, like I say, the vibe was really bad later on because it felt a lot like that that final in Dubai against Space Soldiers, where we should be doing better than we're doing.
Nothing is working.
Yeah, it's like we can't even play a default out anymore. Like we're just getting picked off left, right, and center. Like, and that's not how it's supposed to be. It's like you go and play that position as aggressively or passively as you need to basically fulfill your role there. And if you're constantly getting picked off, it means you got to either start using some more util, you got to start playing more passive, you got to switch up your angles. Yeah. And it felt like none of that was happening. And from a calling perspective, all of a sudden our bread and butter is not working.
Yeah.
And it was really frustrating for me as a caller. Like it felt like we just weren't responding as a team and things were just not going our way. in hindsight, like I said, if we maybe did more like 3-4 man burst plays and shit like that, it could have gone a lot differently.
Yeah.
But that just wasn't the style that we were playing at that time.
Yeah.
So it was definitely not my calling style at the very
Yeah.
least. So yeah, it was a really frustrating final. I remember losing my shit quite a bit on that stage, like shouting at the guys, and it's like, and that obviously also just affected the vibe very badly. You know, no one's going to play well if the IGL is losing his shit and shouting at everyone and stuff. So yeah, it was a bad tournament overall.
Okay, fair enough. So, I mean, you learn a lot from that as well, right? You learn actually more from your mistakes and your shortcomings than you do from actually your winnings and your successes, is what I've always thought and believed. So, I mean, yeah, that's, you know, who knows, could have, you know, set the wheels in motion for changes that had to happen down the line. Like you said, fuck this, I'm not IGLing anymore. This is just, I'm, you know, for whatever reason, somehow I want to focus on my own game a bit more. I feel like I don't have the control. Whatever it is, you're like, I'm not keen to do this anymore. And that's when, what, did JT take over at that point, or did Dimmy take over at that point?
I believe Dimmy took over at that point for quite a while. And yeah, we just kind of eventually decided that, obviously, so in BVD, we've always had a lot of privacy in the sense of Andreas, the owner of Bravado, would be more in direct contact with Dimmy, obviously his brother, and messages would more so get relayed to us that way, or, you know, but the crux of the story is that I think Dimmy took the full load of the pressure that's coming from an organizational perspective.
Yeah.
That his brother would say, you know, we kind of need these results, sponsors want this and that and that, and Dimmy won't make that our problem.
Yeah.
And I think from a calling perspective, when we got into big games, we feel like sometimes it would alter the way that we would then all of a sudden deviate from the way that we would necessarily practice when it comes to these big games, or we're trying to pull a rabbit out of the hat instead of just sticking to our guns, you know. So, and we could just see that it's having a negative effect on him as a player. You know, it's better for him to maybe just focus on his own game.
Because he's taking so much on his shoulders now to try and, you know, occupy for such an important game.
He's a very, very gifted player. Like, in my mind, still the most gifted player that this country's seen. But to compete locally with pressure there, and to compete overseas with pressure there, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
I think all of us, including himself, after a while realized it would be better if he wasn't calling and he was just focusing on his own game, because if he could play his game, which he can do better if he's not calling, it will contribute a lot more to the team and to our results.
Yeah, he can also be one of the most devastating AWPers in Counter-Strike. So like when Dimmy's on his game, nobody's quicker than him. So yeah. Let's transition now into Project Destiny. So, for anyone who doesn't know, which I'm pretty sure everybody does, Project Destiny was this amazing opportunity for the Bravado organization to send their Counter-Strike team overseas. They sent 5 players and a coach, and they all went and lived in Texas. I don't know if you lived in Texas at first, but the point being, you lived there in America. And you guys were there for, was it like 18 months in total from beginning of 2018 up until like mid 2019? Or
I was there for a year.
A year, was it a year? Okay. I mean, because we're talking specifically about the Bravado period, the timeline. So that Project Destiny lasted about a year then. Okay.
So, yeah, and we started 6 months in Phoenix, Arizona, and then after 6 months we moved to Austin, Texas.
Okay. What was the timeline intended to be initially when you left for the project? Were you guys going to be there full time and to stay there permanently? Or was it initially like, we have enough resources to do this for a year, and if we haven't made it by then that's probably, you know, the end of the road?
Yeah, that's what it was. It was, we got enough resources to take us over for pretty much a year. And after that year, we need to have achieved enough to justify further investment, and also to justify additional sponsorship, you know, joining us.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very dependent on our results, but we knew within the first couple of months, like, that wasn't really going to be easy, you know, like it's going to take time to obviously climatize and get used to that scene and then build your way up from there.
Yeah, like a year's a short time, but that must have been a lot of pressure on your shoulders, Rion, knowing like, it's make or break. It's all or bust at this point. There's no fucking halfway. As you say, like you're talking about competing overseas when you go for an event, you have nothing to prove. This you have everything to prove in this year now. You're fighting for your career as a professional Counter-Strike player.
Yeah, look, the main objective was always to get into Pro League. Get out of MDL, win MDL on the right season when
We'll get there. Yeah.
And then finally qualify for Pro League, and then that would, kind of set your trajectory up for the months or years to come. So, and that was probably our main goal, other than just getting the name out there, winning qualifiers, and
putting South Africa on the map, which is what was always one of the big things.
Yeah. And then we ended up winning MDL on the season where. I don't know if it was the first season that we played there.
It was the second, it was season 28. Because the first season you played in was actually main. You played ESEA main, season 27, and you just destroyed everybody in main. And then you got promoted to MDL in season 28, and you won that season. It was a big deal. You guys beat Dignitas, Monstars, Vision. In that Dignitas team was actually Peter and Grim, who's playing for Liquid now. Grim played for that team as well. You beat them. You beat Vision in the final, who features Floppy in that team, and Spongy as well, who's a part of Triumph. So you win the season of MDL, but it's not a promotion season to ESL Pro League, which is imagine how that could have fast-tracked you if it was. It was so unfortunate that that's just how it ended up being, right?
Yeah, I think... Like you mentioned pressure earlier, when we came in, obviously we played in main. That was pretty chilled, and then we went through into MDL. We had a lot of back and forths with a lot of these teams, especially in qualifiers. We were struggling to get into closed qualifiers or making it out of closed qualifiers.
Yeah.
So we did consistently play against these teams, especially teams like Dignitas. At that point, they were also sponsored by Alienware, and we were kind of trying to justify, we're beating Dignitas. Why aren't we getting your sponsorship, But yeah, ultimately, we won MDL season 28, like you say. So we've been there for 6 months, and we've already won MDL. And that's what we needed to do to get into Pro League. It's just unfortunate that it wasn't on the right season. So we were really confident at that stage already. We were playing good CS. It was just the consistency that was kind of the issue at that stage. And then, obviously... When we moved to Austin, after the 6 months we spent in Phoenix, we had our shot at the Pro League. I think we played in the final. I can't remember against who. I remember I had a shocker of a game. I was just at that. I think in that game the pressure really got to me, in the sense of we really need to be winning this game, and I was taking my frustration out on everyone else in the squad as opposed to just focusing on my own game. But it was that typical bullshit of it feels like things just aren't working, and I'm usually the first person to start talking when everyone else goes quiet, because I feel like when people go quiet and people just kind of they're dying round after round, no one's doing anything differently, that's where I start getting triggered, and it's we need to pull up our socks here. If it means I need to start being an asshole and shouting at people just to wake them up.
Yeah, get the conversations going.
Yes, at the very least. But it was unfortunate that we lost that game.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about your journey then. So, talking about one of the things you touched on already, notoriously you guys really struggled to open qualifiers, smash them every single time, get through to the closed qualifier, and then come in within one place of not reaching the main event. I saw it took 7 closed qualifiers for you to finally reach an event, which was the DreamHack Open Winter, where you went on to play second, beating G2 North and that one Swedish team, Galaxy Race or whatever. That was your first big event after missing out so many times. It just shows you, how much potential you had. But what was it that it felt like at the last hurdle every time you guys would stumble in these closed qualifiers? I mean, it must have been so frustrating for you guys.
I can't specifically remember all of the teams that we were playing in or losing out to. I know Ghost Steel's team was a team that we were losing out to in close qualifiers quite often, and I know Swalp with Cooper and Freakazoid and those people. We're
Yeah.
losing to them quite often as well, like in the semis or in the finals of the close qualifiers, or potentially even earlier than that. So I mean, these were all good teams. Like some of them were in Pro League already.
True.
Some of them are top MDL teams. So they were like 4 or 5 teams that we feel were like roughly our level that we really struggled against. And then there was a small gap or smaller gap, then some of the better teams, and then there was obviously, you know, the Liquids and stuff like that. So and the Brazilians also in the scene causing all kinds of havoc. So it was rough in those close qualifiers. We really should have converted more of them.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I can't say what the cause was. Like I think that, you know, on a different day we could have had different results.
I mean, it's not like you guys were messing up badly and just like absolutely shitting the bed every time you played in the close qualifiers. Like you say, you were coming up against respectable opposition every time, playing against some legends in the scene. Like you say, like Steel, you know, they even have a good team like Wardell, Kooster. Like these are names who people associate with like the upper echelon of American Counter-Strike. So it's still respectable that you even got to that point in the first place, right? But yeah, it's just unfortunate that it wasn't able to happen a little bit more often, right?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, okay, cool. We qualified for DreamHack Winter.
Yeah.
At that stage, obviously, you say that happened in our 7th close qualifier. I didn't even know. So at that point already, we've had a lot of bumping our heads against the wall, going back to the drawing board, figuring stuff out, you know, practicing and grinding and so on. So by the time we got to that last one, which took us to DreamHack Winter, we were like waxed in all of our strats. We had a really good map pool. We were all feeling confident, and then we went into like a week boot camp in Sweden, and I mean that did absolute wonders for us. We didn't go there with any like idea to go and practice. We literally just scrimmed. We got as much game time as we can. We made sure we're all comfortable. We had the best setup I've ever felt. Like, you know, had the chairs, had the booth, had everything. And we played in that boot camp, and we went into that tournament like feeling super confident. We were also still trying to figure out the dynamic of, you know, is it better for the whole squad to watch demos on our opponents, or is it better for just Tian and Johnny to watch it and from a calling perspective, you know, dictate how we're going to play against them? Because we had times where all of us would sit and watch a demo together, and then we go into a game and everyone's just, you know, more focused on what the enemy is doing than what they have to do, and it just didn't. So
fair enough.
It obviously different from team to team, but we finally found this is our dynamic. So Tian and Johnny were watching the demos. They had the game plan sorted. We had all of our set strats, and everything was literally nailed to a T. And yeah, we went into that tournament and played the best CS we've ever played. I think that was the peak for us as a team. And with that, we were like, guys, if this is the level that we can play on, you know, or play at against these caliber or this caliber of teams, we should be doing this more frequently or more often and more consistently. Like, you know, we have the potential to do that, so we just really need to get ourselves in the right mindset, carry on grinding, and take it from there.
Like something we even touched on earlier was saying how it's great to have these successes as a team, because you get to really see what you're capable of when you are at your peak. So you mentioned this was pretty much like the highlight for the team. Let's go back to the beginning of the event. You guys play against North in your opening game in the best of one. And you, Optic, of course, wrong Danish team. And you, with Cajun B, Config, Yugi, these are like star-studded names, right? And you go up against them, and you beat them on Dust 2, which is also like iconically a map that they're very good at. You know, Cajun B and Dust 2 is like, you know, bread and butter. So, how big was that for you guys to win that? Because you did say you were feeling good and you guys knew you were in a good space, but then to win that opening game against those Danish, you know, fantastic players, that must have been such a big deal, a moment of reassurance.
Well, yeah, I mean, after the fact, yeah, sure, it felt really cool. But I mean, leading into the game, like I said, if you're coming into an international tournament, you can't give a shit to your opponents.
Okay.
Like, you can't go, oh, I'm playing against Cajun B, I'm playing against this. Like, funny story, like every time we walked past Yugi, it looked like he was about to shit himself. Like he was scared of us. It was weird. Like, I don't know, just a little side note, but like,
Yeah, no, but it gave you guys a bit of confidence. Like, if he's that scared of us, then what?
I
Yeah,
look scared. Like, this guy actually looks scared. And yeah, no, we went into that game. We obviously felt really confident with our preparation on Dust 2. On majority of the maps really, but Dust 2 was especially one of our stronger maps.
absolutely.
And then yeah, going into it, we knew like once again we've got nothing to lose. Let's just go balls to the wall, go apeshit against these guys, and see what we can do.
Okay.
And yeah, ended up taking that, I think 16-14.
Yeah, and then that must have been a really nice like catalyst for you guys to then settle into that tournament, because you've just beaten one of these big international teams, and then after that you guys go up against a team who it's like, okay guys, it's really cool they beat Optic, but now they're playing G2, so it's like we're gonna lose this one, then we'll have to fight it out in the decider match, right? No, we go to Nuke, and the boys have got it settled on Nuke as well. I mean, that was again a crazy game.
To be honest, like Nuke was also one of our, if not the strongest map we had at that point. Like we were very, very confident on Nuke. I'd say probably from a confidence perspective, we were the most confident on that map. And when we found out that we're playing them on Nuke, we were very happy. Like we were like, this is probably the map we've got the best shot on. And then we didn't have a great T half as far as I can remember, and we had a shaky CT start. And then, I think it was like 11-5 or something to them, and then we just turned it around and started making the comeback. So we had a really, really solid CT half. We knew in our heads, like, we can string these CT halves, string the rounds. So, I think obviously that win against Optic really helped from a confidence perspective. But once again, like, it doesn't matter who you're playing against. Like, we're playing against Kenny S and all these people. Like, you don't give a shit. You don't look at the names. You don't frag someone and you go, hey, it's Kenny S. Like, you don't do that.
Or Shocks.
So focused in the game. Yeah, you don't. It doesn't matter. So
I mean, you have 100% win rate against Shocks, Ruan.
Exactly. Yeah. and at no point did they ever really do crazy shit. Like, it's not like they did a crazy 1v4 and you're like, oh wow, this is Shocks. Obviously, that didn't really happen. We were really going blow for blow with these guys. So it was awesome.
That is really cool, man. I mean, what an insane moment for you guys to accomplish as well, considering how hard you'd been working to get to that point, and then to finally have that. Like, I'm trying to think of the word to describe it. It's not like realization, but almost it's not coming to me. But just that satisfaction of finally accomplishing something as big as you did, beating these teams. It's like validates the whole process, right?
Yeah, and then I mean, you've even got guys like Fallen and Glaive and shit making Twitter posts and stuff saying,
exactly,
we're doing really well and we're putting in the work and it's evident and stuff. Like, that was the biggest like form of recognition. That, at that point, Glaive, obviously IGL was Astralis, they were best in the world. It was awesome to see that the amount of love and support that we got from back home. Like, everyone was watching, and it was
Avocado to support Bravado. I mean, I want to touch on that with you as well. Let's just finish talking about the event though. You guys then play against Galaxy Racer in the semi-final, and at this point, you guys have beaten Optic and G2. You must have thought we can definitely
walk in the park. Yeah. That was really our mindset. It's like we should be wiping the floor with these guys.
So you guys had full confidence at that point, right?
Yeah, we went into Nuke, and I think all of us really stepped up. I think we won like 16-3 on Nuke.
Okay. 16-2 actually, even better.
We even laughed because we were like, how are these guys allowing us to pick Nuke if we just beat G2 on it?
And you went 23-9, by the way, like by far top of the server. 1.89 rating on the map as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think we went to a third, or did
1917. Beat them
on Inferno.
Yeah, beat them in OT. Which Inferno was like also another one of your guys' big strengths. Inferno, Nuke, and Dust 2 are like the three maps that you guys were the most prominent on. So you beat them. Now you're going into the grand. Oh, and that had Plopsky and Nork, by the way. Just by the way, two of the superstars in NIP now. After that, you go into the grand final. Now, this must have been, you weren't as confident because this ENCE team actually went on to become the second best team in the world like a few months later. So, like, this was a very solid team.
Didn't they win the major shortly after? Did they come second at that time?
Yeah, they came second. But, they had a really good run. Yeah, I think it was second. But
it's right before they kicked Elixir.
Yes.
I think.
But
Yeah.
so you guys went up against them. My point is when they were in that prime, they were in that
Yeah.
really good space.
They were at that point. They were leading up to their prime.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, it's not
They
their
were
prime, but they
almost
were.
there.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
reaching that point. Yeah, where they became the second best team in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, they were. I don't know if it was the style that they played or if it's just the way that we played in that game where things just, once again, we weren't playing with the same level of confidence that we were playing in the previous games in the tournament. The same with, like, it's not just your confidence, it's also just how you adapt in the game, you know, with against who you're playing individually in your own spot from a calling perspective, you know, how we playing, how we problem solving, all of that, all those things. So once again, I don't know what the contributing factor is. Is it because it's a final and people were subconsciously stressed out or pressure on them? Was it because ENCE is just a way better team?
Yeah, so lack of belief. Yeah.
Yeah, at that point, I mean, if you take Optic, G2, and ENCE, there's not a big gap between them. I think ENCE has a more structured style than those other two teams. They seemed like a team that were heavily dependent on the way they were practicing. And a lot more methodical, but yeah, we really just struggled against them. They had on train, they just had stuff where they came out of main outside on train, and we just couldn't shut it down. Like, they were peeking from there, they were doing everything. We really just couldn't deal with it.
Okay.
In hindsight, we went back, we looked at the demo, we were like, we literally do this and that, and it's done.
A different result.
So we found the problem after the demo, but I mean, if we could have just done that in the game, I think we would have been looking at a different result. Probably not a win, but at the very least, not as embarrassing as it was.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, fantastic event for you guys. Really solidifies the mentality that you guys could probably actually make it at this point. But let's look at the timeline of things now, because this was 2nd of December 2018. You guys must have known at this point that, like, the road was coming towards, you know, it's towards the end then, or was there, you know, what was, where were you at that point as a team?
So we had Poland coming up, which was the minor qualifier leading into the major.
Yeah.
And at that point, while we were in, it was in Poland, yeah. At that point, the money started to become, the financial contribution from Bravado's side started becoming a bit more of a concern, obviously leading towards the end of the duration, like you say. I think it was a bit more expensive for us living in Austin than it was initially in Phoenix.
Okay.
So yeah, it became a bit more difficult from that perspective, and yeah, we felt after our results in Sweden of finishing second and beating these teams and getting all the recognition, that we can only build from there, and surely we should be seeing some investment from outside at this point, at least some interest, you know, and there was just nothing.
Jesus.
And that was very rough for us. So we, coming into Poland, we just decided that, you know, we feel like at this point, if we're going to be carrying on and taking it further, we should be justified in earning a salary and, you know, getting at least additional investment.
Yeah.
And that is where the whole thing with Denial started. Where obviously Denial had a bit of a sketchy history in the past. Apparently this new guy took it over and he was busy paying off everyone's debt and all that type of stuff. I never had any dealings with the guy.
Yeah.
And then, long story short, like, kind of leading into Poland, we've already qualified for it through the close qualifier and we about to head there now. We had the conversation in the team that we all feel the same, that after our recent results, we want to be pushing for something more from an organizational perspective if Bravado can't you know, support us in that regard. And yeah, obviously Dimi and Andreas started Bravado, so neither of them were particularly happy with that. And then, you know, we were still kind of on the fence with it because there weren't, you know, any real options at that point. I think there was some chats with Denial. And then, by the time we decided to go to Poland, we had agreed as a team that we are looking into going towards the Nile. And that caused a lot of like friction within the team. You know, Demi pretty much said that he's going to stick with BVD. So we knew that if we were going to make this move, it was going to be without Demi. And none of us really wanted that, but none of us could also justify carrying on doing this long term if we're not seeing, you know, the prospect of additional investment and salaries and you know, potentially. But yeah, no, from that perspective, like Demi said, you know, he's gonna be sticking with Bravado. So, you know, going into Poland, like arriving there, it was kind of, you know, the vibe was already a bit, you know, all over the place from that perspective, because we know we have this idea of going this way, and Demi and Andreas and Bravado are going to stick, you know, with their guns that side. And none of us were really happy about it. We can't fault each other for their decisions, obviously. Like, all of us respect each other's decisions, and we all had different motivating factors. For me personally, it was that my degree is falling away, or was busy falling away, and it's going to get changed. And if I didn't come back to finish my degree, I was going to lose all my credits and I'd have to start from scratch. So I was pretty much in a position of, in 2019, do I come back home and finish my studies, or do I push as far as I can in this gaming thing and secure a salary for the next 2 years and, you know, a solid team and taking it from there. So I really, from my perspective, I felt I didn't really have the luxury of waiting it out with BVD and hoping for additional investment and salaries and opportunities and all of that. Like, it was kind of double down or go home type of thing. For the younger guys, not so much. Like, they got their whole lives in front of them.
Naturally,
so,
but you actually you had to make your life was at a fork in the road, and you genuinely had to choose one and commit to that wholeheartedly. There was no more in between, no more going back to the degree if this doesn't work out, because you can always, no, it's like, no, you have to choose one or the other now. So that's really tough, man.
It was either I'm going to set myself up for gaming for the next 5 years,
and then,
or I'm gonna, and then maybe come back and study if I need to. Like, I was fine with that and making that sacrifice and starting from scratch to pursue this dream. But if I wasn't gonna, if things were still going to be as unstable in the sense of we don't have security, as in we've got investment to stay here for the next 5 years, you've got salaries, you've got support, you've got all of this, I wasn't going to be able to risk it and give up my studies for that. So,
also comes down to your well-being as well. It's not only like, you know, it's not like, oh, I want money and cool things. It's like you need to start setting yourself up for your future. As you say, you were a little bit older than JT and Fadey in particular, and Sonic as well. So you needed to actually like make a life choice now. And it's as much as you were committed to Bravado and loved the guys, and you know, I would have done anything for Senta Andreas. I don't for Andreas and Demi rather. I don't doubt that for a second. You still had to make a choice there that was impactful to Ruan van Veek's life. You know, so you have to sort of cut out friendships and love and relationships for real life hard choices which have to be made, and that's respectable and commendable. You had to do that, and you know, it's not a position anybody wants to be in, but sometimes life is that's how it ends up working out, right?
Yeah, it's the hard reality of it. But yeah, no, then while we were in Poland, obviously Andreas and them were there as well, and we were having a lot of chats together as a team, as an organization, about how we were going to approach this, and you know, are we going to stick it out? Are we actually going to go with this denial option? Because at that point, denial was also like, you know, we need you guys to sign now, or, you know, it's not going to happen. And then, yeah, we eventually decided to, directly after Poland, we decided, you know, or everything kind of officially, you know, happened after Poland, but we had already agreed to sign the contracts while we were at Poland, or in Poland. So, yeah, no, when we came back, yeah, it was obviously, there was a bit of a divide in the squad, which is obviously natural.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, shortly after that, this denial thing just kind of fell through completely. Like, this guy ended up being super dodgy anyway and just disappeared.
Jesus.
And then, yeah, we ended up sitting without an organization, without Demi, unsure of who we were going to get as a fifth.
In a foreign country, Wow.
Then I was pretty much left in a position where it didn't matter which option I chose. It wasn't going to work out for me personally. Like whether we stuck with BVD, the security wasn't necessarily there. We went for this option and it just didn't pan out at all. Like it didn't even start. There was talks of, the salaries that we were going to get and everything, and we signed contracts and then just nothing happened. This guy just disappeared. So yeah, that just didn't work out at all. At that point, Demi had already left and gone back home. And at that point, they decided to get Robbie in as a natural fit for... obviously, Robbie's a really, really good CS player, so they got him in, decided once again, let's put the personal bullshit aside and get him. And at that point, like right before he flew, I just told the guys, listen, because at that point, I also wasn't like feeling as wanted in the team as I necessarily felt initially. Like throughout that whole year in Project Destiny, there was a lot of ups and downs for me personally. Like a lot of my issues came from outside of the game, and it had an effect on my performance inside of the game. I had a lot of friction, a lot of fights and stuff with guys, but I mean that's natural when you've got 6 guys living under one roof,
24/7.
And I'm big on conflict. Like I fight people, so it's
to resolve things though.
Yes, naturally. I don't want to call shit, but if there's something in the air, I'm going to speak up and I want to get it resolved. And you got guys, different maturity levels, different upbringings and stuff, like different ways of living. So yeah, I think there was just different. Like obviously there were clashes and stuff. So but not to go too deep into that. Ultimately, I just told the guys, listen. I need to know, like, do I need to stick this through with you guys and carry on, or what's the vibe? And everyone initially was like, yeah, cool, we want to keep you. And then, one night we had like a really bad result and things were kind of, really hitting me in the sense of, I have to make this decision now, because if I don't leave now, then I'm committing for another year. And then I just asked him, like, give me a reason as to why I need to stay. And no one could really say anything. And I was like, okay, yeah. I was like, all right, guys, like, no hard feelings, but I'm going to bounce. And that's when they decided to get Dom as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was initially Dom and Robbie or Robbie and then Dom, but then they flew both of them
up. I thought it was
up.
Robbie and then Dom because of the,
And then they flew both of them up, and then my flights got kind of delayed, so I was just chilling there in the house for a while there's like this new team.
Yeah.
It was chilled, like I was obviously just chilling with the guys and doing my own thing. And then eventually I came back home, took quite a long break from CS, and then that's obviously when I started my little stint with Sin 5 and now GT.
Wow, man, what a journey. Thank you for like opening up and giving us some insights into, how that all played out, because from a South African perspective, everybody was so vested into that project. As much as you guys were obviously, living it, everybody here was living it just as much as you guys. Everyone was talking about it, everyone was supporting. We touched on how much support you guys used to get. Everybody on the streams, fucking 3-4 in the morning, Twitch chat being flooded with avocados, just everybody going buck, supporting you guys. So it's cool for everybody else to also get an insight into, the genuine, true dynamics, a little bit behind the curtain, as it were. Here we are with the new series. So, thanks for opening up and sharing some information with that. And, it's tough that you experienced your own personal challenges when you were on that side, but I'm not at all surprised. Moving across... however many miles, thousands of miles away from your country, your home, your family, your friends, you're a small town boy from PE, and now you're so far away from everything and everyone. I'm not surprised that there were a bunch of things outside of the game which affected your ability to perform inside the game as well, because you guys were almost living in like a hyperspace reality, just like, traveling through like a wormhole almost for a year. And then all of a sudden it all stopped and you were just out on the other side and you became Ruan van Wyk again. You came back home. You were living the life of like a star, a celebrity. And like, how contrasting was that for you to come home afterwards and just have nothing to do? In relative terms.
I can safely say, like, I can't speak for the other guys, but I never really felt like a celebrity. I always kind of undermine all of my achievements.
Humble. I'm not gracious.
Really, I don't know. I just don't always attach a lot of value to it. I don't know. I'm more about the chase and the journey. The CS that I enjoyed the most was the journey and energy leading up to number 1. Being number 1 was never that fun.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just a different mentality, like the underdog mentality. It was nice in NA, obviously when we were there, we were the underdogs. But when I saw how much work the underdog needs to do to not be the underdog, I was like, I don't have enough time for this. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if this is going to be that viable. So yeah, it's unfortunate that we didn't get to go over sooner, or that, you know, we as isolated as we are in this country. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's what it is. But coming from over there, coming back home was pretty awesome, actually. Like, I think, like I said, I had a lot of ups and downs there in the States, more so downs nearing the end. So I was pretty happy to be back home and to
Okay.
have a change of scenery. The 8 to 10 hours of CS every day kind of got to
Jesus.
you know, like Johnny would do that and then jam FPLs afterwards. Like, I don't want to touch my computer. It's different personalities, right? Like, I need more balance. I wanted to go out. I wanted to socialize with people. I
Yeah.
wanted to go work out. I wanted to eat a bit more healthy. You know, I wanted to be in a proper routine. You know, I wanted guys to do chores around the house. Everyone contribute, do their own thing.
Bit of structure.
Yes, and it's unfortunately with the individuals that we had there, that just really wasn't the plan. So
Yeah.
it just didn't pan out that way. So when I got home, I was able to, you know, live my life again the way that I want to. I'm in control. And yeah, obviously finished my studies, had to go to work and all of that type of stuff. I'm still busy doing my postgrad now.
Okay.
So yeah.
It's actually something I want to ask you about, because you've said it to me before, when you just returned back and you were sort of in limbo, not doing. I think I Steam messaged you, you know, just to say welcome back and everything. I was like, you know, you're looking at maybe getting into a team here and getting serious again. You're like, you know what, Matt, to be completely honest with you, you'll never take Counter-Strike as seriously as you did again ever in the rest of your life. Now, could you give people a bit of an idea of how seriously and how much of your time you committed to the game in that year that you were in? You already like alluded to it. You said you guys were working 8 to 10 hours a day. Is that like a 5 days a week, or is that 7 days a week, or do you guys have off days? Like, try and give us an idea of how much work you're actually putting into the game.
It was usually about 5 days a week, and then obviously any tournaments, close qualifiers, all of that stuff was played over weekends. So there were weeks where we obviously played 7 days a week. You start a tournament, especially these qualifiers, you wake up at like 10, or you start at 10 and you're jamming all the way till 10 at night, you know.
Yeah.
And then you need to order food. Like, you don't have time to make food, or Tiana has to go and grab some food, or whatever the case is. So yeah, I mean, every day was pretty much, our schedule was, we would start around 12. So for me personally, I would wake up earlier and go to gym or do whatever the hell I want to do, and get into my routine. And then at 12 o'clock, we'd be in front of our computers and we would be playing up until pretty much 10 at night.
Yeah.
And that's everything from practice to demos to scrims to officials.
Okay.
So yeah, that was pretty much between 5 and 7 days a week. Every day we would be jamming. A lot of traveling. Obviously, if you go to tournaments and stuff, there's traveling involved as well. You're living in a house with the same people every day. You see them every day. Yeah, it's all got its own challenges at the end of the day. I think if it was possible, it would have been better to split the guys up a bit, you know, instead of having everyone under one roof, have them, you know, 2 people together. You know, I think that
in an apartment, and then 2 people there, and then the IGL and the coach in a place
yeah,
together.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think myself and Tian probably would have been together because we're Afrikaans.
Yeah, I was going to say, not short of a bottle of Brandewijn, I'm sure, as well.
Yes, no.
No, that's awesome, Ron. But I couldn't imagine like how much time you guys were putting into the game. Like, seriously, living and breathing Counter-Strike, right? Because even when you're watching series on, you know, as a group, it'd be like, yo, you know, I was thinking of doing this exec on A overpass, where it's just like always your brain, you go to sleep, you lie in bed, you think about the match you played, you wake up, you dreaming. It's just like you're living, eating, and breathing Counter-Strike.
It's just CS. Like, even when we take breaks and stuff and we're chilling on the couch, there'd be a CS stream on.
Yeah, exactly.
There'd be chats, you know, even in our breaks, there'd be chats, you know, maybe I could have done this differently, or maybe we should consider doing this.
Yeah.
You know, or there'd be a fight, you know, why couldn't you help me? Yeah, help me this, do this,
Yeah.
do this. So, yeah, it was always CS.
Yeah. Listen, bro, like we could actually carry on going for a while because I have a lot of other things we could talk about. But I think we're already like 2 hours into this, so I think we should probably let's move on a little bit now. But like I do want to just maybe ask one more question. Like you say, Johnny was like not I don't want to say the hardest worker, but the guy who had the ability to just keep on fucking playing the game.
He was the hardest worker, you can say.
Okay, so he was like the hardest worker out of the group. Was he the guy who was dictating what everybody needs to be doing? Like, you need to make sure you're watching this many demos per week. You're doing these bots, this movement, KZ, or was he quite a free flowing like leader? Who's like, you know what? I know you know what you need to do. Get the job done.
Yeah, it was more individual practice was kind of your own thing. Demo watching was kind of your own thing as well. At the at most it would be, okay guys, we're going to play this team, maybe watch a demo on this map, or let's all sit together and watch this demo. But that would usually come from Tian. Johnny would just sit and make strats, and then or copy paste strats from other teams, and then you would sit and work on util or whatever, and then you would say, okay, cool, let's jump in a server, let's ghost run this, and then we add it in. So that was Johnny just came up with a shitload of strats. All the time, and then that was pretty much his contribution outside of just playing a ton of CS.
And what was he like as a leader, like in your team? Because we didn't actually speak about it. I wanted to bring it up because you said, you were IGL for a period, Dimmy was IGL for a period, and Johnny was IGL for a period. Like, felt like you three were like the leadership group in that team. And then Johnny eventually settled as the caller. What was it like playing under him as like your IGL?
Johnny is a really good IGL in the sense of he can read the game and stuff, but I mean he's got an even more monotone voice than I have, and he doesn't really care about pressure or anything or get excited like
the emotion side of things is just not really there. Yeah,
it's just always kind of he calls his strats and plays the game, and the thing is he's stern in the sense that he's got his idea or his strat of how, we're going to approach this round or play against this team. And he won't really waver or like even if I would come in and say, maybe we should be doing this or doing this, he would kind of stick to his guns. So in that sense, I mean, that's typical Johnny of like, he doesn't give a shit about anyone else, not even his teammates in that regard. He'll just kind of do what he believes is the right thing to do to a fault at certain times.
Yeah, so it's like pros and cons, right?
Yes, so it's good to be confident in yourself as a leader, but also you need to be able to take criticism and listen to others and get different opinions and stuff like that. And that wasn't something that, especially from my side, wasn't something that was always an option.
Yeah.
From a leadership, I mean, it's a very broad kind of principle in the sense that you can be a good leader by being like Johnny in the sense of, he believes in himself and he's confident, but you also need like really good people skills, and you need to be able to conflict
manage. Would you say is more of an IGL more than a captain sort of thing?
Yes, he's more of an IGL than a captain and leader.
Yeah. I get that.
Leadership skills isn't something that everyone necessarily has, and it's not something that everyone is keen on doing.
Yeah.
You gotta take a lot of bullshit. You gotta give a lot of bullshit.
Yeah.
Just the way it is.
It felt like it became a bit of that was a part of the Bravado, like your guys like manuscript almost, or your mentality was that you didn't have any outright leader in the team. It was everybody knew what they had to do. It was a very like, I don't want to use the word mundane, but it's like such a calm mentality you guys always had. Like, I remember when we played you and you were sitting across from us, you guys would win like a crazy round, everyone would just be sitting there like, yeah, we just won around, like yeah, going crazy and fist bumping. You just look and you guys are just fucking like chilling. And then I spoke to you about it. It's like you try to like get a grip on your guys' emotions so that when you guys were low, it wouldn't go too low, but then it also goes the opposite way. When you guys are getting high, you don't lose control of yourselves. Was that something that came from Johnny as being the IGL, or was that just a general mentality?
It just came down to the personalities that we have in the team. I think every team is different. Some teams really feed off of hard.
Look at MIBR with KNG and Leo Drunky and those guys. It's going crazy every round they win.
Exactly. So I mean, back in that energy lineup with James and Ashton and Tools and those guys and Tian, like we were shouting and going apeshit the whole time. Like that was our vibe in the team and the way that we would play. In Bravado, it was more like Johnny doesn't show emotion if he smiles once every full moon. Like Reese is a very quiet guy as well. Sonic also a very quiet guy. Dimi and myself are also quite big introverts. So all of us are pretty chilled individuals in that sense. So um, if no one is like the hype guy, then we all just kind of stay calm, cool, and collective. And like you say, if you have high highs, then you also have low lows.
Yeah.
So we just try to keep it as close to that equilibrium.
Neutral.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just, you know, if we're going to dip a bit, it's easier to get back to where we need to be.
Okay.
So that was just kind of our dynamic.
Okay. Oh, awesome, bro. Okay, so I think we can start shifting away from Project Destiny now. Just use the next 5-10 minutes just to cap the conversation off as to where you are today. You returned to South Africa, as you said, focused on your studies. You've completed a degree. You're doing a postgrad now, so that's what you're focusing on. You did join Sinister 5, I suppose. You just got that like little bit of competitive itch, like I just want to shoot a few people and you know, like play CS a little bit. Was that what it was about for you? Like you played with Deviant and Zero Chance, two of your oldest mates as well. So was it more just about like getting in touch and playing a little bit, or were you keen to, you know, be a bit more competitive?
Yeah, so I wanted to go back to my roots in the sense of when I was playing back in Energy, I was more considered as like the star player that can do what I want to do. And in BVD and stuff, I started taking all the bullshit roles.
Yeah, you became like a pillar basically. You're like the support guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's obviously every team needs that player, and it's usually the player that gets the most shit in the team,
Yeah.
and gets overlooked the most. But I was fine. I don't really care about, you know, what people think. Like if my team doesn't deem me, you know, necessary or deem me as someone that's contributing, then that's fine. Then replace me with someone that can frag better and whatever. But that person's not necessarily going to be happy playing the same roles. It's not necessarily going to do it as well, you know. So you got to play to your strengths at the end of the day, and that was one of my strengths. But if I'm also just playing my own game and there's really no like responsibility on my shoulders and I can do whatever I want, then that's pretty much the way that I played in Energy, and that was kind of something that I want to go for in Sinister 5. So I wanted to just kind of get a fun team going that can compete semi-competitively. We don't really practice. We play like 3 days a week or whatever, and we just show up and jam. And then it came out that I also had to kind of IGL just to get us into the mindset of the things we learned in the States.
Yeah,
you know?
I get that.
The shit that I know works.
Yeah.
And yeah, we kind of did that in Sin 5, jammed there for a while, just kind of YOLO, had a lot of fun playing with James and Deviant and all of the other guys. First time I played with Lately and with Slayer as well. Had a chance to play with Gareth, Freaky, had a chance to play with my brother for a while as well. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. We actually caused a few upsets. We beat 80k once.
I remember on train.
Time, so yeah, no, it was a lot of fun for me to just be able to jam my own game, just to kind of prove to myself that I can still play like that. So that was a lot of fun. And then after that, I saw how close we were getting to beating some of these teams and actually competing without really practicing. And I was like, maybe I can play competitively again without taking it that seriously. Have fun being the main goal, or having fun being the main goal. Being in a team with people that I want to be in a team with, and then, you know, still getting some results, you know, while doing it. So
it's like trying to find a middle ground sort of thing.
Yes. So that's why I kind of started this thing now with Goliath, where we're in the position of, you know, we're not planning on putting in as much time as 80k.
Which is like 8 hours a day, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that. Like, I left that lifestyle a long time ago. I'm not interested in it again. So we're playing 3-4 days a week. Obviously, we just a bit more efficient with our time. Like, I'll prepare some stuff beforehand. I'll make sure, and I'm playing with guys that are a bit more, you know, experienced in the sense of they've been playing at this level more recently, if you will. Than let's say some of the guys from Sinister 5. So
your ADMs, Adaro, Zip, Dweezil, Massacre, all of them. You're right. Yeah.
And I mean, I've got a really good relationship with all these guys, and they literally take everything I say, and we're able to to have good conversations and criticize each other and all of that. So yeah, it's a really cool dynamic that we have. And the idea is really just to get 5 people that are on the same page but are having fun. And I mean, the vibes in the team, apparently the vibes haven't been this good in very, very long. And we're literally showing up, and I know we lost to ATK recently quite a few times, but we've had some really close games against them. We've been going back and forth with Energy, back and forth with DNMK. So I think we're still just finding our feet and you know, trying to close the gap between some of the more simple mistakes we're making. And then obviously this year we'll probably work a bit harder, but nothing like ATK or nothing like it was in NA. That's not the plan.
What happens if you get opportunity, like you win some sort of international like a local qualifier for international events? Something you're gonna pull the 2018 Ruan mask on and go back to the grind? I mean, would you still love to have an opportunity to like maybe go and play in an international event again, or are you not even remotely concerned about that at the moment?
Well, I mean, initially when before ATK got was it Slowy and Doru?
Yeah.
If it was Slowy.
Yeah, it was Slowy and Doru they picked up,
Yeah, I mean, I know they approached Adam. I know they approached me as well. They approached a few people. So at that point, I just wasn't interested. I mean, that was shortly after I came back from the States. I just wasn't interested in playing at that level again. I'm still not interested in playing at that level again. I want to compete against it, but I believe that I can compete against that with good vibes and 50% of the work.
Okay.
With the right people. So that's just kind of working smarter, not harder type stuff, you know, with the right people, and just the benefit that you can get from getting 5 individuals that are happy to jam together.
Oh, awesome.
So, but if I get the opportunity to go overseas, I mean, if we qualify for something, we're gonna go. I mean, I've already had this conversation with the guys. Like, if it's like a tier 1, tier 2 tournament where we have no business winning anything, then we're just gonna go and have fun. There's no point in doing a week-long boot camp. We're not gonna get the results that we would like to. So if it's a lesser tier tournament, then sure, we'll go.
Like a DreamHack Mumbai maybe or something.
Yes, then we'll do a week boot camp. We'll go. We might be able to win it, but if it's a big tournament, it'll essentially be like a holiday.
Just make the most of the opportunity.
Yeah. Okay. So, but I would never go live overseas again to go play CS.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean,
I can't justify that again. It was a cool experience, but I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, there's a couple other topics here that I've got in this document, but I think we can, I think we should call it for now. Maybe we can reconvene sometime a bit later, because there's like other outside, yeah, exactly. There's like other things we could discuss as well, like general questions and stuff like that, like, you know, the South African scene, some of your favorite teammates, just like general stuff. But let's, I think we should call it now at what we've got. It's been a super interesting conversation as it's been. I've had a few like tech issues on my side that I've been like managing, like putting out a few fires while we've been going. You've just seen the Discord side of things, so it's all look nice and calm that side. But we'll see when the edit comes through. I'm gonna get like a static screen and put it like just tech issues while we're talking and then fix it all. So it'll be good. We'll have it all sorted. But Ruan, thank you so much for sharing your story with me, man, and letting us see behind the curtain, because you've had such an intriguing career, and just being able to hear how you've gotten to this point and your journey, the processes. You've always said how you've been a man about the journey, and I just think it's an incredible story, and it's an inspirational story. You know, you got a lot of South Africans here right now. They have the same dreams that you had, bro, about wanting to play overseas. They had the same dreams about wanting to make it in the Counter-Strike scene, and I think it's just inspirational for these people to see how far you got and you lived the life, and just cool to hear your story, man. So thank you for sharing it with us all.
Shot for doing it. I think it's really cool. Like if you do this, start doing this with a couple of players. Like, you know, if you do something like this with Timmy, like this guy will talk your ear off. You know,
yeah.
Crazy.
Don't worry, Ron. I've knocked on the door. We'll get there eventually, but it's not an option right now. I'm gonna bring the barricade in, boy. I'm getting in there one way or another. But even someone like Style or something, you know, like going back way back when and hearing about the pioneers of the scene. But thank you so much, Elusive, and wish you all the best on what's to come, 2021, your studies, your work, your career. Looks like everything's tying in together really nicely, and things are working out well for you. So it's great to see.
Thanks, man. Appreciate
Yeah.
it. It was a cool little chat.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Well, guys, that's all we got from this first episode of Behind the Curtain. I was joined by Elusive, sharing all his fantastic stories. Hope you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned for the next episode. Hopefully it doesn't take too long, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.
Cheers.